airport is in disarray as emergency services rush to a plane's crash landing. With millions of travellers traversing the nation today and tomorrow, could chaos ensue?
And have you done the Christmas shopping yet? Well, never fear, as we've got one of the best chefs in town here with tips on how you can cook up a festive feast.
And the sport, well, another crazy game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as Liverpool beat Spurs 6-3. Manchester United are well beaten again. And talking of well beaten, what happens now to Tyson Fury?
Hello, good morning. We've got an east-west split weather-wise across the UK today. Plenty of sunshine in the east, outbreaks of rain starting to work in from the west, accompanied though by some milder temperatures. I'll have all the details later.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Cameron Walker.
And I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GBN News Breakfast. Good morning to you all. Thank you for joining us on this very festive day. I've come basically dressed as, well, I don't know what.
A sparkly star.
I think it's quite conservative for you today, then. Toning it down for Christmas.
Or Liberace's older sister.
Yes.
I like to identify
or
as
Liberace's
today.
piano, even. But you look $1 million. You look
Not entirely sure you're helping here,
I mean, in a lovely way, obviously.
But thank you, boys, for making so much effort as well. I mean...
I feel very boring.
Well, we did think we'd dress it down a little bit just to make
the
Dawn look
star
more
of the
fabulous.
show shine. Thank you very much. But are we ready?
Ready for Christmas?
Yes.
Not quite, to be perfectly honest. The studio is ready for Christmas.
Yes.
All the baubles. GB News baubles as well.
The elf on the shelf has moved.
Oh, God. Yes, we do. We do have an elf on the shelf on the Christmas tree to my right as well. But I think
that's
today...
Quitty.
Sorry?
That's Quitty.
Oh, Quitty.
That's not the elf on the shelf. The elf on the shelf.
Have you, listen, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Have you stolen any of the baubles from the tree? Has anybody done...
Oh, I couldn't possibly say, Paul.
Listen, I've got to tell, there would be trouble, but there's some very attractive baubles on these trees. And I've thought about it, but I thought there's no way I'm going to get away with it. Some people must have stolen them already.
I think they've noticed. I think somebody counts the baubles every evening, and if one is missing in the morning, they'll know it's you that's taken it, Paul.
I'm just nervously checking the time here to see what baubles jokes I can make, and it's way too early. It's still only 3 minutes past 6.
It is.
Yeah.
But people are counting them.
Yeah,
but the fact that the elf moved in the 12 hours that I've been here...
Where is it now?
It was right behind you.
Right,
is it?
Yeah.
Literally on
It's
your
behind
shoulder.
you, Paul.
Exactly. Have you been naughty or nice, though, Paul?
I think you know the answer to that. Yes.
I see. Long queues today as well at supermarkets, people picking up their Christmas turkeys, so I'd get there early if I were you.
Is that what your family's doing today?
Yes,
Getting
picking up the
turkeys
Christmas
out?
turkey.
I'm kind of hoping that basically everyone else is staying at home today. Watching GB News, I really would watch GB News and not go out doing any shopping because then you leave more time for me to do it. I'm not queuing up to do anything today. So get out of my way, people, all right?
There's two types of people, I think. Those who are super, super organised and have got all their shopping done the week before, and those who will be panicking from now until Christmas Eve, getting all their shopping done.
I'm sure that doesn't apply to any of us, does it, Paul?
No, not at all.
No.
But you know what I want to see is that people that are queuing, if you're in there queuing up for your turkey or whatever, just everybody just have a chat. Be nice to each other.
Yeah.
It's all the elbows start flying, don't they? I know it's all getting a bit stressful. Just be nice. Everybody get your turkey.
But it is really stressful. You know, the husband had the cheek to say to me yesterday, right, so you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to get your presents to your family and other. And he goes, oh, they don't care about the presents getting to them on time. I said, yes, they do. You've brought them presents, get them to them. And he goes, well, you just calm down. And it's no, because I'm trying to do all the organising. Girls, you know this out there. I'm trying to do all the organising and the bloke's just going, can we go to the pub yet?
Well, every year this happens. You just have to de-stress, don't you? Just relax, get a few drinks down you if that's your thing, and just enjoy the festivities.
I'm not being funny, Cameron, but
together.
I've started already.
Have you?
So, yeah.
It's only 6:05, Paul.
Well, you know. It's last night, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
I had a very tricky game of football to watch yesterday. So give me a break, yeah.
But there wasn't that many goals scored, and what are you getting so excited about?
It's only 9. I'll deal with that a little bit later.
Yes, indeed.
It's going to be closure.
Honestly.
And that is just tea, by the way, people. There's no rum in there whatsoever. That would be completely wrong at 6:05 in the morning. Anyway, thank you for joining us. It is a very busy day. We really appreciate your company on this festive Monday. It is Monday.
Yes.
But obviously we have to cover the horrible breaking story, and that is moving on. And tributes have now flooded in for the 9-year-old boy, Andre Glessner, who has been named as the youngest victim in the German Christmas market attack.
Yes, and taking to social media, his mother called him my little teddy bear and said he would always live in our hearts.
The attack left 5 dead and over 200 injured, with some remaining in a critical condition.
Well, that's as the hard right alternative for Germany prepared to march near the scene of the attack, with German authorities coming under fire after warnings about the suspects were reportedly received last year but deemed unspecific.
Oh, well, joining us now is political commentator Andy Williams to bring us up to date on this story. Andy, it's a difficult conversation to have at any time of year. Obviously, the fact that it is so close to Christmas. This poor little boy has now been named 9 years old. His mum's given an incredible tribute, and you read it, and it's one of those things that's like, OK, right, and breathe. What does this mean now for the political situation in Germany? We know there's a far-right march taking place today. What does it mean for the political situation in Germany and, by extension, the whole of Europe?
Well, firstly, obviously, it's a really horrific incident. And I think we have to, as you rightly did, Dawn, prioritise saying that and recognising that, and particularly at this time of year. I think there are obviously questions for the security services to answer. The fact that that car was able to drive into the Christmas market was, as far as I've read, a security failing in itself. So that's a problem. But in terms of the political situation, I am not surprised, but I'm also completely horrified that the AfD, which is, let's be absolutely clear about it, a neo-Nazi party. It is not a right-wing party. It is a far-right party in Germany. And that they have decided to march on the area shows exactly how they are willing to exploit horrendous incidents like this for their own disgraceful political gain. And I think we need to be really wary now about parties like the AfD gaining even further traction. And let's be clear, they're already polling very well in Germany. They won their first statewide election recently. They do not have the answers to the problem that we're talking about here. This is not about immigration. This is about a madman who has, of his own volition, for whatever reason, decided to do something totally unconscionable.
And Andy, there is clearly a lot of anger in Germany at this incident, and you've mentioned the perhaps security failings of lack of barriers at certain entrances of this German Christmas market. The Interior Minister for Germany is saying that the heads of domestic and foreign intelligence in Germany are going to be questioned by a parliamentary committee, suggesting that there was some intelligence failure as well. So should people's anger be directed towards authorities rather than immigration or immigrants?
I would have said so. I mean, from what I've read, this the suspect was first sort of reported to the authorities as far back as 2013 in terms of making threats of violence, other sort of incidents, and that's 11 years ago. So the fact that he was allowed to continue living, normally in society without being at least questioned, at least sort of apprehended in some way, there are obviously serious questions. My question to people who would say, well, the AfD, good on them, and their march, they've got the answer is, somebody who's lived in Germany for 18 years, who came to work as a doctor, a highly qualified psychiatrist, how do you stop people like that, who have lived in a country for 2 decades, suddenly committing a horrendous act of violence? The answer is not that you close your borders, which is what the AfD is saying. How would that have helped in this case? I
mean, the doctor, the accused in this case, was there legally? Now, we've seen two previous incidents happen in Germany, but they were illegal asylum seekers who had their asylum claims turned down and were in danger of being thrown out of the country, although, there's serious failings by the sounds of it going on in Germany with migration, full stop. But this chap was there legally. Yep. And the thing is, what you were saying about the AfD, Andy, I mean, they are polling the second most popular party in that country. Elections are coming up in February. So it's very easy to dismiss them as far right. But people are wanting change. I mean, I listened to a pensioner being interviewed in the city yesterday, and Greta, 65, and she was saying, this is our hometown. This attack has struck us right in the heart. She said that, this city has changed significantly over the past 3 years. It's too much immigration too fast. That's an ordinary German pensioner. So, the AfD are addressing concerns of ordinary German citizens.
Well, no, I think they're acknowledging, saying that immigration is a problem and that places have changed quickly. That's a point of view. That is not necessarily a far-right point of view. But the AfD's pronouncements, prescriptions, solutions are far-right. They are. And it's one thing to acknowledge concerns, but for your solution and for your manifesto to be the AFD's, that is absolutely, it's a reactionary, far right, and in my view, completely unacceptable and way beyond the mainstream way of looking at things. And just because they're polling well doesn't mean that we should accept that what they're saying is okay. We need to absolutely stand up to these parties in countries across Europe. And if we had an AFD here, and by the way, I think there are elements of reform, although I'm not directly comparing them, but there are individuals in reform and there are elements of reform who would be perfectly well placed in the AFD, and I think we should be wary of them too.
I think we have to be careful because AFD are the extreme of the right-wing party. I think we're very careful comparing reform to them.
Well, but that's exactly what I said. I think there are elements of reform who would be at home in the AFD, but I'm not saying they're the same. AFD are clearly far to the right.
Well, there are probably elements of many of our political parties a bit at home in the AFD at the moment, to be honest with you, and that's from the left as well. Wow. OK, Andy, thank you very much. Andy Williams, political commentator, will be joining us later with more coverage of this story. Now, we are moving to Belfast. Belfast City Airport is getting back to business this morning after a shock crash landing left the airport in chaos.
Yeah, the nose of an Aer Lingus aircraft collapsed as it landed on Sunday evening, but luckily there were only 4 crew members and no passengers on board, and none of those crew members were injured.
The airline operating the flight has said the incident was a result of adverse weather conditions. So could we see cancellations across the nation as the countdown to Christmas begins?
Well, we're joined now by travel correspondent at The Independent, Simon Calder. Simon, thank you for joining us. I mean, complete chaos in Belfast yesterday, of course, the runway having to be shut. Do you think we have seen the worst of the travel disruption for Christmas following all these adverse weather conditions, or is there more to come?
Really good question, Cameron. Good morning to you. And actually, if you are looking at specifically the airlines, then, yeah, yesterday was absolutely horrible. We got dozens of cancellations in and out of Belfast City Airport as a result of that incident. Just to talk you through it, was Emerald Airlines, which actually flies on behalf of Aer Lingus Regional. It's just a positioning flight, as it's called, from Edinburgh, getting the plane, the pilots and the cabin crew ready for their next plane, their next flight. Normal 40-minute flight, but of course, very windy conditions, a very hard landing, and the runway was blocked for the rest of the day. Diversions began almost at once. You had a number of diversions to Belfast International Airport, which is close by, but was itself very busy yesterday, and also to Dublin. And no aircraft could get on or off the ground there. So we had dozens of cancellations there. And I'm afraid, even though the airport is now saying, following the incident, the runway at Belfast City Airport has reopened, operating as normal. They are warning that anybody impacted by this, whether booked today or indeed one of the flights cancelled yesterday, should speak to their airline first. We've got a number of cancellations. They are involving, for example, KLM to Amsterdam. That flight couldn't get in yesterday, so there's nothing to fly back on. The early British Airways flight is delayed by about 4 hours. And they've got to also get the aircraft that were diverted back to Belfast City Airport in order to continue from there. So messy old day. And across at Heathrow, we had over 100 cancellations. That means 15,000 people from that alone waking up where they didn't want to be this morning.
Gosh. And Simon, I can see you're at London Liverpool Street train station. What is the situation with the rail travel today in the UK?
If you're going to travel anywhere by train before Christmas, I'd make it, or indeed for the rest of the year, I'd make it today. That's because I've just checked the Stansted Express, which on 2 of the past 4 days has failed in the morning. That seems to be running OK. That's the link from here to one of Britain's top 4 airports. Other trains running pretty much as normal, not just here, but across the country. We had hundreds of cancellations in northwest England yesterday. That was on Northern because there were no staff available because they don't have to work on Sundays if they don't want to. And why would they want to so close to Christmas? And everywhere else, yeah, the main exception is London St Pancras International, the line running up to Leicester, to Derby, to Nottingham, to Sheffield. That's closed for engineering works right through to the 30th of December. Here at London Liverpool Street, tomorrow night, if you don't get your last train there, you're not going to be on another one until the 2nd of January to and from here. And a similar thing over at Paddington Station, in West London, that's going to the west of England to South Wales. They're closing too. So lots of engineering works coming into play, and crucially, of course, New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, things wind down early. So, for instance, last train from London King's Cross to Edinburgh leaves late afternoon, and if you're not on that, you're not going to be travelling by train, I'm afraid.
Simon, just very quickly, I'm very nervous about talking to you today after implying you were the travel Grinch yesterday. I do apologise. You're a lovely person, but you always have bad news. OK, so flying's not good. Trains are not good. 22.7 million people hit the roads yesterday. Is it worse trying to drive anywhere today and tomorrow, or just stay where you are now?
Well, look, you were talking earlier about best staying and watch GB News with a cup of tea. If you've really got to make a journey, and forgive me, now is a really good time to set off, but that's not going to work well with watching the rest of the programme. Otherwise, just keep things easy. About 5-6 tonight, things will calm down. It's going to be particularly busy on the key motorways. You know what they are, the M25, particularly the west side of London, the M1, the M6 going through the West Midlands, M5 coming south of Bristol, and particularly around the big shopping areas, because guess what? Lots of us haven't bought a single thing yet for Christmas. So, it's going to be OK. And one final word for the ferries. Unfortunately, we saw loads of ferries between Scotland and Northern Ireland cancelled yesterday because of terrible weather. And that's on top of the closure of Holyhead to Fishguard. So thoughts with all the people trying to get maybe from Great Britain across to Northern Ireland, or indeed the Republic, to be with family.
OK, Simon Calder, travel correspondent at The
Our very
Independent.
own Christmas travel Grinch.
Travel Grinch.
Thank you.
But of course, if you are having to leave early to beat the traffic, you can take us with you, because you can watch us on TV, but also on the radio. Listen to us in
on the
your
radio.
car.
So wherever you're going, especially if you sit on one of those jams on the motorways that Simon was just telling you about, we're on the radio.
Yes, we'll keep you company.
We will, yeah.
Should you have a look on the weather?
Yeah, that's not good either, is it?
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. Things are turning much milder now in the run-up to Christmas. Often quite a bit of cloud around, some outbreaks of rain. The rain mainly reserved, though, for the northwest of the UK. Looking at things in more detail for today now, though, and plenty of sunshine across the south and east of the UK. That sunshine turning a bit hazy this afternoon as cloud starts to increase from the west. And that cloud thick enough across many northern and western spots for outbreaks of rain to gradually work their way in as we go through the day. 1 or 2 heavy bursts developing across Northern Ireland and across Irish Sea areas later on. Turning milder out towards the west here, temperatures this afternoon up to 8 or 9 degrees. Still quite chilly, though, towards the east and southeast at 4 to 6 Celsius. As we head into the latter stages of the day, we hold on to a lot of cloud across the north of the UK, quite a bit of hill fog around, some outbreaks of rain at times too, so quite a murky end of the day here, but notice temperatures starting to climb up across western spots, so up to 8 or 9 Celsius. Quite a cloudy, murky picture too across Northern Ireland, spits and spots of rain around, but temperatures here up to around 10 or 11 Celsius by this stage in the day. Quite murky across many other western spots again, bits and pieces of rain blowing through the air at times, whereas towards the southeast it's still mostly dry here, and there'll be some clear weather to end the day. Milder, though, cloudy and rather damp weather works its way in across all parts as we go through the evening into the start of Christmas Eve. So a pretty murky, grey picture to start Christmas Eve. Outbreaks of rain mainly reserved for the northwest there. Elsewhere, mostly dry, but as I say, quite cloudy. And with the cloud around, a bit of a breeze too. It stays much milder than recent nights. Certainly a frost-free picture as we go into Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve itself, though, does look pretty grey. A lot of low cloud around, again, some hill fog in places. Mostly dry away from the northwest where we'll see outbreaks of rain at times. But again, a pretty murky picture. Temperatures very mild, though. Temperatures widely into double figures, peaking during the course of the afternoon up at around 12, even locally 13 Celsius. 13 is into the mid-50s in Fahrenheit, several degrees above where they should be for the time of year.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
OK, well, it's not too bad, is it? Right, OK, at GB News, we love to hear what you think. Every day we'll be running our poll of the day. Today we're asking, should shoplifters face jail? And that's as numbers of unsolved offences rises by 38%. We'll be bringing you the live results throughout the day, so make sure to stay tuned. The final result will be announced later in Nana Queer's show.
Yes, for all our latest polls, news and how to vote, just go to gbnews.com/poll.
OK, loads to come. Are all hopes of a white Christmas dashed? Fingers crossed not. We're finding out next. This is GB News Breakfast with Cameron and Dawn.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight, every night from 11 p.m.
The Daily Mail now, Josh, and pub landlords have to worry about more than the optics when it comes to offensive banter,
Yeah,
it
this
seems.
is a really big story and important. Pub landlords could have to become banter cops to stop themselves being sued by staff offended by comments from customers under workers' rights reform. So, Labour, when they were part of their election process, they were like, we're going to reform workers' rights, and that all sounds good on paper, but there were issues in terms of how might it affect employees and fear from employees costing them more money. One of these things that they're sort of pushing through, though, is that in the Equality Act of 2010, part of the issue was that if you were offended at work or someone said something sexist or racist, something that affected you, the employer had to take some sort of, like they had three chances to kind of take action.
Yeah.
Now, the employer has to should have taken action already. So employees can sue employers. Now, this has a big impact on us because we're comics and we perform in venues. And if some of the bar staff hear a joke that they don't like, then they can sue their employer, potentially, under this legislation.
So it's not punters?
Well, also, it could be like you're at a bar and some bloke is like, oh, I like that top, or whatever. That's not good behaviour. But the point is now that employee could sue their employer.
So, because, I mean, the sort of scenario I was imagining was that a barmaid was being maybe sexually harassed or
That's
something.
what they're focusing in this article, but other articles have gone down the free speech route.
OK.
And also venues and universities having lectures. We saw it at, in Edinburgh Fringe Festival and Sadowitz. He had a show cancelled not because of any punters, but because two of the 18-year-olds were working. They were upset.
There was a bar in Brighton, wasn't there? There was a story we covered a few weeks ago. A bar in Brighton threw some people out. Because
exactly. They had turfs on the.
Turfs. Yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back. It is 24 minutes past 6. Now, are you holding out hope for a white Christmas?
You said you were going to sing that bit.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
He can actually sing. I
debatable.
Can't. No, well, no, it's not even debatable in my case, so I'm not gonna hurt your ears this early. It is that age-old question that comes around every year, isn't it? Could Santa deliver snow just in time for the big day?
Well, who better to ask than meteorologist and weather expert Tamsin Green. Tamsin, welcome. I mean, in my lifetime, I've probably had about one white Christmas, a proper one, possibly two. What are the chances this year?
I fear I might get called the Christmas weather Grinch here.
No.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the chances of a white Christmas, especially for us waking up to that classic quintessential wintry scene, is extremely unlikely. I mean, getting a white Christmas by technical definition It's really quite easy. All we need is one single snowflake to fall within the 24 hours of Christmas Day. But even that looks like that's going to be a tough call. I mean, we look like we've got high pressure to the south, a lot of dry weather, a fair bit of cloud around too, some rain edging into northwestern areas, some brisk winds there. But on the whole, it looks like it's going to be a pretty white or green Christmas, to be honest. Pretty green, grey Christmas on the cards for us across the UK, I'm afraid. So no real chances of a white Christmas. And like I said, it really isn't that hard to get one. Meanwhile, in the US, they need at least an inch to be settling on the ground. So our standards are quite low and still doesn't look likely for us, I'm afraid.
Tamsin, why do we have this thing in our head, right? I mean, all our Christmas cards, romantic snow scene. And yet it's actually quite rare in the UK, isn't it, to have that quintessential romantic white Christmas?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, last year was technically a white Christmas, but our last widespread snow occurrence and a white Christmas wasn't since 2010. So it really has been, while they are a lot more rare than, you know, just having a technical white Christmas. But since 1960, roughly 50% of our Christmases have been white. But again, you know, the definition for that is a pretty low bar. So, you know, technically it sounds like we've had quite a lot of white Christmases, but in reality, seeing that quintessential Dickensian white snowy scene isn't particularly common for us.
Tamsin, there was a time where the River Thames in London used to freeze over and there would be widespread snow, and yet it just doesn't seem to be happening anymore, does it?
Yeah, that was back in like the 16th, 17th century. That was a long time ago now. But yeah, I mean, look, climate change is going to be impacting that. Our Christmases are becoming seemingly less wintry and more mild, and the chances of having those white wintry pictures are decreasing. You know, there'll be some parts that will see a white Christmas outside of the UK, but, you know, for a lot of us, we're not going to be seeing that white wintry scene.
And Tamsin, we've already spoken to our travel Grinch, who says that it's not worth travelling anywhere, and you being our weather Grinch, where's the closest place we could go if we wanted to get on a plane, if there were any available, for a white Christmas?
Well, funnily enough, there's going to be some snow moving in across the Adriatic Sea. So Croatia looks like they could be seeing a white Christmas for the first time in 17 years. So if you want to hop on over to Croatia, you might be seeing a white Christmas there.
That's good.
Do you know, I wasn't expecting you to say Croatia.
Me neither.
I thought you were going to say Norway or a place like that.
Get booking a ticket.
Yeah, I'm on it now. I've got my laptop here.
Tamsin, thank you very much. That's meteorologist and weather expert Tamsin Green, our weather Grinch, as we're calling her.
Yeah, Christmas Grinch, weather Grinch.
Absolutely.
What's next?
Travel Grinch. Actually, no, we're not being Grinches because we've got a really good thing.
We do, actually.
Yeah.
It's our Christmas giveaway. Christmas is coming, and there's still plenty of time to grab a chance to win our festive treat for you, an incredible £50,000 in cash. It's the biggest ever Great British giveaway, and all of that is tax-free and could be yours in the new year. Here's the details.
There's just 2 sleeps till Christmas and all through the land, GB News has the chance to win a nifty 50 grand. That's cash for the new year. You could go on a spree. And the best thing about it, it's totally tax-free. From Santa with love, you could be our winner. Just enter right now or right after Christmas dinner. It's a cracker of a prize guaranteed to enthrall. From all of us at GB News, Merry Christmas to you all.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck indeed. What a 2025 you could start off with that one. Talking of special treats, still to come. Paul Coit is with your sport coming up next. This is GB News with Cameron and Dawn.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul because of snow. In Perth and Kinross, the A93 is closed each way because of snow between Braemar and Lair. The M74 in South Lanarkshire is closed southbound between junctions 2 and 2A from Rutherglen to Camberslang after an accident yesterday evening. There are delays and cancellations to flights to and from George Best Belfast City Airport after an incident. The port of Holyhead remains closed for emergency repairs, with sailing still suspended between Holyhead and Dublin. In the West Midlands, the A34 is closed each way along Stratford Road at Sparkhill in Birmingham because of a fire, and in Surrey, the A287 is closed each way along Folly Hill in Farnham after an accident. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
I'm Christopher Hope. This is GB News, Britain's election channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now we're joined now by Sophia Viraji, the co-founder of the Azealia Foundation, which was created due to the tragic passing of her 8-month-old daughter to leukemia. The foundation is doing some incredible work for children's cancer.
Yeah, some really incredible stuff. They've just launched a PhD even where they're funding young doctors to specialise in childhood cancer as, get this, I wasn't aware of this, it's one of the most underfunded areas in the NHS. So not many sectors choose to go down that route, unfortunately. The charity, the foundation, have donated over £1 million worth of equipment to hospitals as well, and we're delighted to welcome Sophia. You've turned a tragedy and grief into triumph, I guess, and something so inspiring. Just tell us about that. Do you recognise that in yourself and the work you're doing?
Yeah, I'm here to always honour my daughter and to always continue her name, her legacy, and to support all of these other children fighting against childhood cancer.
It was all over social media. I mean, you were at one point probably one of the most famous families in this country because of Azealia and Azalia's fight. When you look back now at that time, does it give you comfort that you had so many people behind you?
Absolutely. The community that we have got, the humanity that we've seen in the UK and all around the world, in fact, has really touched my heart, and that kindness, love and support has always been the backbone of carrying me through this, to give me hope, to give me belief, and it still inspires me and encourages me till today to continue to do that, to show that light, to show that courage and bravery.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Who's Eamon?
Welcome back. Time to go through the latest sports news with Paul Coit. Paul, we've had a weather Grinch. We've had a travel Grinch.
No,
Are you going to be a sports Grinch?
No! Oh, yes,
Yes.
I am. Yes, I am.
Yes,
yeah,
you are,
I
actually.
thought I wouldn't be, but yes. I mean, I'll try and smile at the result yesterday. I mean, what? Spurs, it's Spurs 3, Liverpool 6. I mean, 9 goals. It's just, what is going on there? It's a crazy game. Liverpool 4 points clear. This is Spurs' last 4 results. Lost 4-3, won 5-0, won 4-3, and lost 6-3. You'd think 6-3, this was a game of tennis, not a game of football.
You are getting a lot of goals, though. I mean, some clubs don't score that all year.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I could look at it, and there's Luis Diaz there. He's obviously just scoring there. But Spurs scored 3 goals against Liverpool, so I could say that. But unfortunately, Liverpool scored 6, although I say... Unfortunately, that's for all Tottenham Hotspur fans. Liverpool fans are obviously very happy.
Yeah, you're not biased. You're unbiased reporting here, remember, Paul?
Yes, I always forget.
Unbiased.
You know what? Someone came up to me at Spurs yesterday and said, I find it really funny how you try and be unbiased and then you're not. And I said, look, no,
miserably.
I'm not unbiased. What can I say? And I'll just be perfectly honest with it.
Really, really not.
So anyway, Liverpool were excellent, and I'll be honest with you, Liverpool could have scored more than 6. It could have been just a hatful, and it wasn't that many already. Now, Ange Postecoglou, the Tottenham Hotspur manager, and if you want the Christmas Grinch, I mean, Ange, never too happy. You're never really sure how Ange is feeling, and the thing is, you don't want to rub Ange up the wrong way as well. And I know that there are certain journalists that ask questions that are always a little bit nervous to see how Ange's reaction is going to be. Right. So, shall we see how Ange reacted to that, because the thing is, what you don't want to be asking is, look, and you're conceding a load of goals. There's a lot of injuries. Spurs have a lot of injuries, so he's not happy. But anyway, Ange, Ange, give us a smile. Happy Christmas. This is what he has to say.
I think I've been really, really patient the last 18 months, sitting up here answering the same questions over and over again. If people want me to change my approach, it's not going to change. Like, we're doing it for a reason. We're doing it because we think it'll help us be successful. If people don't understand the circumstances we're in at the moment and the challenges we have from a team and squad perspective, which are as obvious as you want to make them, now, you know, I get the idea that people think, that I should just flick the switch and change, and somehow that would miraculously make us a different team. But it is what it is.
For those that don't know, the argument is that it's this gung-ho style, is that Spurs will always go forward, and whereas you have people that are saying they should be a little more pragmatic and sit back, but Andrew's saying he's got so many injuries, the goalkeeper's out, his centre-backs are out, his left-back is out, he's got an 18-year-old playing in the middle at the back, so it's very tricky, but there's the argument that it's the way they play.
And, you know, the scariest thing with him is, if I was asking him a question in that press conference, is it if he actually bothers looking up at you, then I'd be scared.
Yeah.
That would be right, because he never looks up at anyone.
Yeah, but the thing is, you see him looking down, it's because you don't see what he'd done to the journalists beforehand, and they're laying on the floor. So it's going, mate, I'll tell you another thing. You ask me a question like that. So, anyway, Ange, you don't want to mess with Ange, but he's going to stick with it, and it's the most entertaining ticket in town.
That's
just
true.
all depends
that is true.
what you get.
And plus it's Liverpool, who are going to win, aren't they? They're going to win the league.
Well, I think they probably are. I mean, I thought Chelsea would run them closely, but Liverpool are really good.
They're
really, really good.
Some very happy Liverpool fans then.
Oh, yeah. And unfortunately for Manchester United, that's not working yet either. It's early days. There's Ruben Amorim, who's the new manager. So they're playing Bournemouth. They lose 3-0 at home to Bournemouth. And for Manchester United fans, I mean, that's unthinkable. At Old Trafford, they lost again. They lost to them last year as well. So it's the third loss out of 4 for Ruben Amorim. A lot of people are blaming there's too many set pieces that are going, from corners and free kicks, because they've got a guy called Carlos Fernandes that Ruben Amorim's brought in. He's the set piece specialist, and at the moment, it's not going so well
Not very special.
for the set-piece specialist. So Amorim is saying it's my fault. Bournemouth, though, are flying. They're in 5th.
I know.
It's magnificent.
Isn't it amazing? Because the teams, like, if you're old-school football fans, the teams you thought, well, it's just Bournemouth, isn't it?
That's
but
right.
They're really actually playing well.
And there's just some crazy results. I mean, Wolves yesterday. Wolves couldn't buy a win, and they've sacked the manager, Gary O'Neill. Vitor Pereira has come in, who's Portuguese. And it's like the new manager bounce. Now, this new manager bounce, actually there's something to be said for this. So Leicester had Ruud van Nistelrooy come in. So his new manager bounce has gone out the window because Vitor Pereira has gone into Wolves. And his new manager bounce has now taken over from the other new manager bounce. So Wolves beat Leicester away 3-0, and nobody would have seen.
Saw that one coming.
Nobody was seeing that.
No.
And Everton 0, Chelsea 0, and there's a new owner bounce because Everton have got new owners, so maybe the bounce works for new owners as well.
Yeah.
So the answer really is, for football, is just change your manager every week, because then you get a new manager bounce, and in that case, you'll always win.
Gosh.
Right, yeah. I'm not going to imply that West Ham should do anything with their manager at the moment, because that's a very dangerous ground to go down at the moment.
It certainly is.
Keeps everybody on their toes.
It really does, yeah. And I've just a quick word about Tyson Fury. We'll talk about more about him a little bit later. Tyson Fury, of course, lost, as I'm sure you know, over the weekend to Alexander Usyk. It was the second fight that they'd had in Saudi Arabia, and Tyson is saying that he thought he'd won the fight. He didn't win the fight. So maybe in an hour we'll discuss what we think is going to happen to Tyson.
As long as it was that 11-minute stare into each other's eyes.
I know.
I think that's the thing that wins it or loses it.
11 minutes they were staring at each other.
No blinking.
But I think whatever happens to him next, if he does fight Anthony Joshua, which is what everybody's going to...
Oh, God.
They say he's going to earn like £100 million. So it's maybe worth one more fight. 100 million.
That's so much.
I was fighting for that.
Yeah,
I'm there.
I know you would.
Sparkly jacket
well, you'd
and
stand
all.
a chance, but what about Cameron?
I think I would have to default on that one.
OK,
Dawn can be the backup.
You drive a hard bargain. We may have to go to 150 million for you.
Yeah, I think so. Then I might think about it.
OK.
Coity, thank you very much. See more of you later, and we can't wait already.
I'll get my boxing gloves on.
OK, still to come, Andy Jones and Claire Muldoon are going through the papers. But first, if you are in search of some of that elusive winter sun, here is a forecast of some of the top European destinations for you.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, welcome to your latest winter sun forecast brought to you by the Met Office. We'll see an east-west split weather-wise across southern parts of Europe over the next few days. Mostly fine in the west, more unsettled further east. Could see a few showers on Christmas Eve across the Canaries, but for much of Iberia, it's set fair, plenty of sunshine around here. And then we run into more unsettled conditions across southeastern parts of Europe. Some wind, some rain, even some hill snow in places. And that east-west split continues as we go through the Christmas period. Further unsettled weather to come in the east, generally fine the further west you are.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Penelope's, which is situated in the sophisticated Hotel Armano in Covent Garden, delivers punchy dishes from the executive chef Fez Ozalgan. London-born, she's of Turkish Cypriot heritage, and at the tender age of 16, she enrolled at Catering College. So, it's lovely to see you, Fez. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
So you're now in a very prestigious position. I'm always impressed that in the world of chefing, it's possible to get to very senior positions quite young if you're good enough. Talent is rewarded, is it not?
Definitely, yeah. It does take a lot of hard work, for sure. But, yes.
When did you know that you wanted to be a chef?
Honestly, because my parents have a cafe in Barking. And I used to go there when I was younger, in school holidays and weekends to help them. And actually, I'll be honest, I just used to really admire everyone calling my dad chef, and that's what I wanted.
And what about your food inspirations? Because I believe the food that you produce now is what? Mediterranean influenced and also to some extent Middle East influenced?
Yeah, and Spanish as well at Penelope's, yeah. So our concept at Penelope's, our CEO, Ariel, he is Israeli, but he grew up in Marbella. So, yeah.
These are the great influences.
Yeah.
What have you brought here today?
OK, so we have our sea bream tartare, which is a really good inspiration of both Spanish and Israeli. It's marinated with harissa, and it's served with a really nice gazpacho sauce, caviar on top.
I wonder whether the camera can see that. It is the most gorgeous coloured sauce on top of my sea bream tartare. That's marvellous.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Should we have a look to see what's in the papers? Dawn's shaking her head. I wonder why.
Because we have the brilliant journalists and broadcasters Claire Muldoon and Andy Jones with us, and one of them, Claire Muldoon, is already pilfering the baubles.
What are you talking about? We've been teasing this for weeks, Dawn.
In front of the elf on the shelf.
The elf on the shelf, which is...
Didn't do anything. Really
She's
good.
flashing her baubles at you, and it's still only 6:45 in the morning.
Look, you've made Cameron blush.
Honestly, I know.
You've made him blush.
Bit warm now.
Andy isn't blushing, though. Right, where are we going to start? Should we start with some doom? You can be our newspaper Grinches this morning. Claire, Daily Mail front page. Economy is doomed.
Yeah, well, there's no doom and gloom with Muldoon, but today with Labour, I think there might be. The Mail is leading with economy heading for worst of all worlds. I mean, it is the Mail. They want to be quite anti-Labour, let's be honest. But there is truth, actually, in this headline. We are heading for recession, there's no doubt about it. The impact on small and medium-sized businesses with this employer's hike in national insurance contributions. I know local firms that are, you know, £120,000 a year worse off. That's almost 2 full-time equivalents. What are they going to do? And with the Angela Rayner's new laws for bringing new Labour in, Labour workers, it's going to be very difficult for employers to get rid of rubbish staff who can't work properly, who want to work from home, they've got the right to now, and can actually activate their sick days immediately from starting work. Well, good luck with that. I'm a freelancer, not that there's anything to go by or whatever, but I'm only saying if I don't work, I don't get paid. Therefore, I'm very rarely ill. And as much as it would be lovely just to say, oh, I'm not feeling very well, then, you know, it doesn't really work like that in the real world. And I think Labour have forgotten what the real world is like for real people to live in. And globally, it is a catastrophic, enormous, rubbish hole that we're in at the moment. Look what happened in Germany at the Christmas market. Look what's happening across the pond in America. Look what's happening on our own doorstep. And all Labour seem to be able to do is snatch money any which way they can and not keep their word. I'm sorry, I've had enough of it. It's a complete omnishambles, and I think Starmer has to go.
Well, there was that story over the weekend, Andy, but I mean, if you're not a worker and you're a pensioner, you're in even bigger trouble, according to the Eye today.
Yeah, Labour believe dozens of MPs will revolt against the government's refusal to compensate waspy women. And they think as many as 100 backbenchers are deeply unhappy. This is within Labour. Labour insiders surprised at the extent of criticism from newbie MPs. These are the ideologues, the fresh-faced ones, the ones who maybe aren't as tactically political as they might be. Neil Duncan-Jordan MP says he's dumbfounded, angry and disappointed at the decision over the waspy women. But the biggest problem again here is, as Labour, as Claire was alluding to, is Labour have made promises that they can't possibly keep. It's not the fact that they're not compensating these women, it's the fact that they boldly said that they're going to compensate these women, and then they've absolutely rown back at it 5 minutes in. And they're in a position now where hundreds of their own MPs are deeply unhappy. We talk about the economy is doing dreadfully at the moment. The ridiculous situation where we've got 9 million people who are economically inactive, and yet the sort of lower paid jobs that those people might go back into are now not available because of the national insurance hikes. And so we've got everything from
the rise in minimum wage.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got this position where everyone from chemists to the considerate constructor scheme who manage building sites saying that so many of these low-wage jobs are going to simply disappear. And so we can have more and more people on benefits. We're going to have more and more people who are taking from the economy rather than giving.
And, of course, these new MPs could well lose their seats in a few years' time if they're so annoyed with Labour.
That was, especially over the weekend in the papers, that was a big thing. A lot of the grassroots Labour MPs that were voted in are actually quite frightened now that they will not remain in their seats come the next election in 2028.
Yeah, and especially as many of them, for the first time, are in more rural constituencies.
Yes.
And the way Labour have treated the farmers, they have definitely...
And Miliband's net zero rubbish.
22 billion on carbon capture, all of that money for climate change, supporting African farmers but not supporting British farmers.
Charity starts at home.
It feels like they're obsessed with ideology and dogma rather than reality. It feels like it's entirely drawn up on whiteboards in Westminster rather than actually going out there and seeing what we need at ground level. You know, if you got, even now, if you got high streets, half of it's shut up, half of it's completely out.
But that's not. I wouldn't put the blame at Labour.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't put that at the foot of the Labour Party as blame. People's shopping experiences have completely changed now.
No,
I think that's why the high streets have gone down. More out-of-town shopping areas and more online shopping has been done. But I think we need to get independence back. I think we need to get rural communities back. I think we need to get communities back. And we can only do that by underpinning social activities like public libraries. I mean, Labour should be sorting out communities, I think, instead of trying to get Mandelson in as the US ambassador to the UK and, you know, all of these ideologues. And I think, for starters, he should be at home. He should be at number 10 instead of flying off everywhere. It's horrific.
Well, you wouldn't want to be Labour looking at any of the front pages today, really. But the Times, which is sort of like more middle of the road than it used to be honest with you. I mean, economic outlook is frustrating. It says Labour. I mean, Labour admitting that it's not actually, you know, been the best honeymoon period for them in the world.
What can they do, though? What is the answer? To replace Starmer? I don't know. We know the money's not there, and it's not about the 22 billion black hole. I would say they need to have, like Attlee did, you know, concise, pure economic results and economic answers to what we're going through now. There doesn't seem to be any influence or any intelligence or any newness.
In fairness to Labour, though, they've been in power 6 months, and they are constantly banging on about fixing the foundations of the economy, whatever that means. And perhaps there just hasn't been enough time yet to see proof of their methods. Is that a fair argument?
Certainly they've inherited a horrible headache. You know, Conservatives can argue all they want about how the country should be run, but for 14 years we've had a Conservative government that wasn't even Conservative, one that was extremely high tax, rubbish on policing, rubbish on borders, absolutely everything like that, and they've been left a headache. My view is, again, a lot of the things that they've done, raising minimum wage, national insurance, it's really bad for the economy. I find that a lot of the jobs that they need people to go back into have completely disappeared purely because it's now too expensive to hire people. They've smashed small businesses over the head. And what I was alluding to earlier with the high street is these are going to be increasingly hollowed out because these sort of small business owners are just going to disappear.
Claire, is it a lack of experience, perhaps, in the Cabinet? Not many of them have ever worked in or run a business.
Do you know, Cameron, I think you've hit the nail on the head here because I've always said, I think if you want to be an MP, you need to live in the constituency that you want to support and that you want to represent. And you are there to represent people who vote for you. You are not there to be flown in at behest of the head of the political party that you are a member of or you want to potentially be a member of, and then only for them to make their statistics look OK. And I don't want someone just with a PPE degree. I want someone who's actually got real life experience. Because if you are going... I mean, the role of an MP now, I think, has changed so much. It's almost like a social worker. It's like an economist. It's like everything. When they have their surgeries, if they're working properly, they've got their counsellors and their key workers that feed into what their constituents want. I don't think that's happening. I don't think they know what on earth the electorate actually want within the constituencies, and I don't think they were elected on a mandate that they even knew what they had. There was no manifesto, really. They've not kept to it, have they?
No,
and yet, I think it was they were definitely voted in by proxy against the Conservatives. Everyone wanted rid of the Conservatives.
They wanted change, but not quite the change they were delivered in the end. It's enough to make a saint swear. Talking of which, seamless link there. This is excellent broadcasting, isn't it? The Sun, page 11, Andy. Dickens includes Victorian language, plays woke alert.
Yeah,
not another one.
Yeah, we see this all the time, don't we? Whether it's books of Roald Dahl. I mean, Enid Blyton's probably got woke alerts now.
Oh, she definitely did. I mean, Noddy is cancelled.
All of them cancelled.
Noddy and Big Ears.
Famous Five.
Audience members were cautioned that an adaptation of the 1839 novel Nicholas Nickleby contained Dickensian slurs. So they were warned before the performance that there would be Dickensian slurs. I'm sure we've never had any Dickensian slurs in the studio here. The woke alert from Bromley Little Theatre, South East London. Last night's Spock, Scorn. It also said the play, which sees impoverished Nicholas supporting his mother and sister when his father dies, involved themes of violence, suicide, sexual assault, kidnap, mental illness, and worst of all, sexism.
It's a night out in London.
I know, we are.
Well, that's your night out in London, love. We know about your nights out in London.
With my baubles.
And your baubles. We're running out of time, so we are going to talk about how size matters over Christmas, but we'll do that in the next time round,
right.
shall we?
We certainly will.
Yeah. So let's get the weather with Marco for season.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. Things are turning much milder now in the run-up to Christmas. Often quite a bit of cloud around, some outbreaks of rain. The rain mainly reserved, though, for the northwest of the UK. Looking at things in more detail for today now, though, and plenty of sunshine across the south and east of the UK. That sunshine turning a bit hazy this afternoon as cloud starts to increase from the west. And that cloud thick enough across many northern and western spots for outbreaks of rain to gradually work their way in as we go through the day. 1 or 2 heavy bursts developing across Northern Ireland and across Irish Sea areas later on. Turning milder out towards the west here, temperatures this afternoon up to 8 or 9 degrees. Still quite chilly, though, towards the east and southeast at 4 to 6 Celsius. As we head into the latter stages of the day, we hold on to a lot of cloud across the north of the UK, quite a bit of hill fog around, some outbreaks of rain at times too, so quite a murky end of the day here, but notice temperatures starting to climb up across western spots, so up to 8 or 9 Celsius. Quite a cloudy, murky picture too across Northern Ireland, spits and spots of rain around, but temperatures here up to around 10 or 11 Celsius by this stage in the day. Quite murky across many other western spots again, bits and pieces of rain blowing through the air at times, whereas towards the southeast it's still mostly dry here, and there'll be some clear weather to end the day. Milder though, cloudy and rather damp weather works its way in across all parts as we go through the evening into the start of Christmas Eve. So a pretty murky grey picture to start Christmas Eve. Outbreaks of rain mainly reserved for the northwest there, elsewhere mostly dry, but as I say, quite cloudy. And with a cloud around, a bit of a breeze too. It stays much milder than recent nights. Certainly a frost-free picture as we go into Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve itself, though, does look pretty grey. A lot of low cloud around, again, some hill fog in places. Mostly dry away from the northwest where we'll see outbreaks of rain at times. But again, a pretty murky picture. Temperatures very mild, though. Temperatures widely into double figures, peaking during the course of the afternoon up at around 12, even locally 13 Celsius. 13 into the mid-50s in Fahrenheit, several degrees above where they should be for the time of year.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Murray, the A939 is closed in both directions between Cockbridge and Tomintoul because of snow. And in Perth and Kinross, the snow gates are closed on the A93 between Braemar and Lair. There's disruption to some flights into and out of George Best Belfast City Airport this morning after an incident yesterday. The port of Holyhead remains closed for emergency repairs to storm damage, with sailing still suspended between Holyhead and Dublin. On the M69 in Leicestershire, the northbound exit to the northbound M1 is closed after an accident. In the West Midlands, the A34 is blocked along Stratford Road at Spark Hill in Birmingham, where they're dealing with a fire. And in Surrey, the A287 is closed along Folly Hill in Farnham after an accident.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Imagine getting a call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good morning. A dark shadow over Germany.
As tributes pour in for the 9-year-old victim of the Christmas market attack.
The mother of Andrei Gleisner remembers her little teddy bear as authorities come under pressure to explain why the Saudi Arabian doctor accused of murdering 5 people was not stopped sooner.
As the hard-right Alternative for Germany prepares to march near the scene of the attack later today, could this be a recipe for civil unrest?
And over here, Peter Mandelson moves in on Farage. Britain's new ambassador to the US admits he might need the Reform leader's help.
We speak to the Shadow Culture Secretary as the Conservatives condemn Labour's charity grab, which will see almost half of all donations funnelled straight to the Chancellor.
And it might be less than 48 hours until the big day, but for some, Christmas isn't always so joyful. We're meeting the veterans who gave so much to our country and yet find themselves alone during the holidays.
And have you done your Christmas shopping yet? Well, never fear, because we've got one of the best chefs in town here in the studio with tips on how you can cook up a festive feast.
I haven't bought yours yet, so I'm really sorry. But in the sport, only the 9 goals as Liverpool beat Spurs 6-3 to stay top. That's Liverpool, not Spurs. Yesterday was the day of seeds losing in the World Darts Championship, and is the Battle of Britain fight finally going to happen in the summer?
Hello, good morning. We've got an east-west split weather-wise across the UK today. Plenty of sunshine in the east, outbreaks of rain starting to work in from the west, accompanied though by some milder temperatures. I'll have all the details later.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Cameron Walker.
And I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Now, Dawn, I may not have a sparkly jacket on this morning, but what I do have is a sparkly Union flag bauble, which Claire Muldoon helpfully stole off the shelf for us a little bit earlier on.
It's a stolen bauble, and the glitter, I mean, it's very good quality, but the glitter is coming off all over you. It looks like you're wearing glittery makeup now.
Oh, does it? Oh, God, OK. Well, the thing is, I was just so underdressed this morning, I felt, when you walked in wearing the sparkly jacket.
Well, yeah, I came as Liberace's older sister. Thanks, whoever suggested that. I've forgotten your name, but I do know where you live, and I'll get back to you later.
Your baubles fallen.
Right, OK, stop playing with your baubles, boys. Put it back.
Paul,
Put
you
it
can
back.
have it.
You know what?
Trust Coity to...
The thing is, though, if I put this in my pocket, I'm going to get home and my wife's going to go, have you been too close to Dawn Neeson? Because I'll be covered.
Covered in glitter. What goes on between Paul and I is our business and our business. And the thing is, if you took that home to the wife, she's anything like me, you need at least 2.
Well, you know what? She's the one that's been going, could you take something from the tree? And I think it's...
What is it for everybody stealing things from this studio?
It's just that it looks so nice. It's just that it's so good.
The GB News trees are some of the best. They are really lovely. I mean, they're very patriotic.
Yes.
They've got an elf.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing, right, people out there, right? Elf on the Shelf. When did this start? I didn't have it as a kid.
5, 6 years ago. It's not long.
Yeah, I don't think it's a very long time. Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I wasn't aware of the... You're going to go on that story, aren't you? No.
Yeah.
Cameron's going to explain why size matters at Christmas.
It certainly does. It's because, apparently, according to the Telegraph, that houses or flats are getting smaller. So people are having to downsize their Christmas tree. Treezempic is the headline, a play on words on the weight loss drug. And everyone's getting thinner Christmas trees. So this morning...
That is not a tree, that's a twig.
It is a twig. We will be discussing this in the papers a little bit later on. Hopefully you can get some of those really thin Christmas trees on the screen for you. But please send us in pictures of your Christmas tree, because we would love to see them, and hopefully they're not as thin as the ones that the Telegraph reporting this morning.
Are you real or fake?
Oh.
And what about the Christmas trees? I mean, tell me about the... Do you have a real tree or Christmas?
I
or
have a real
fake
tree at Christmas.
You have a real tree? I do. I have a real one. Yeah.
And we do just have some breaking news, I'm afraid, completely segueing into something that's a bit grinchy, actually, unfortunately. GDP figures are out, and they are estimated to have shown no growth in Q3, that's July to September of this year, revised down from the initial estimate of plus 0.1%. So it looks like a bit of a Grinch for Christmas.
Yeah, the Grinch GDP figures. And I think we need, how many more? Is it 2 more with no growth or zero growth or shrinking growth? And we are
shrinking growth for a recession.
In a recession, isn't it?
Not ideal.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas indeed.
OK, and the other, obviously, the big breaking story still continuing is the story from Germany, and tributes are flooding in for the 9-year-old boy, Andre Gleisner, who has been named as the youngest victim in the German Christmas market attack.
Yeah, and taking to social media, his mother called him my little teddy bear and said he will always live in our hearts.
So sad. Yeah. The attack left 5 dead and over 200 injured, with some remaining in a critical condition.
Well, that's as the hard-right Alternative for Germany prepares to march near the scene of the attack, with German authorities coming under fire after warnings that the suspect was reportedly received last year being deemed unspecific.
Joining us now is political commentator Andy Williams. Andy, thank you very much for joining us. I want to talk to you about the breaking story, the live breaking story we've just had, the GDP figures.
Yeah, not good, is it? I mean, flat growth in Q3, and I'm sure that people will be queuing up to say this is all Labour's fault and it's Rachel Reeves this and it's Keir Starmer that, but let's be absolutely clear. When Q3 began, Labour weren't even in government, right? So this is not the product of the budget, which was actually at the start of Q4. This is the legacy of 14 years and more, actually. Basically, ever since the financial crisis, we have had an economy that's been basically bumping along the bottom, unproductive, barely growing at all sorts of structural, endemic problems, and it's going to take a long time to turn around.
But the thing is, I mean, sorry, Cameron.
Sorry.
I mean, you know, when Labour came in, we were I know it's not saying a lot, but we were the fastest growing economy in the G7. I know it's not saying a lot. We're not comparing with you know, a brilliant economy. It's not like America's doing at the moment. But, I mean, things were getting better, and now they seem to be, at worst, stagnating and potentially getting worse.
Well, as I say, the start of that quarter in which we've had zero growth, the Tories were still in government. So there is no way that even the most successful government in the history of the world, and nobody is claiming that Labour has been that so far, but there is no way that in 2.5 months you can turn an economy round such that it's growing by 2, 3, 4, 5%. This is nothing to do with the Labour government. Now, I accept that there were mistakes made in the budget. I think Claire Muldoon was talking in the last hour about the fact that the employer national insurance rise is going to cause problems, is going to cause employers to cut jobs potentially.
Well, it's huge problems, Andy, because the Confederation of British Industry has found that firms, as you say, is expected to reduce both output and hiring because of the Chancellor's hike in employers' national insurance. So that's not going to do much for GDP figures.
And I was at the CBI annual conference last month, and it's absolutely right that the business leaders who were there, some of the most important CEOs in the country, were pretty downcast and pretty frustrated with Labour. And I think even Labour cabinet ministers have admitted in the last 24 hours that it's not been a good start, and that actually, you know, I don't think those growth policies that we were promised were there in the budget. But I just want to be clear about these figures, and anybody who's telling you that it's Labour's fault that we have had no growth in Q3, that is just a complete misunderstanding of economics.
So what do they do? What does the Labour government do now to improve prospects for the economy? It seems like an impossible task.
It's easy, yeah, easier said than done. I mean, if I had the answer, I think I'd be sitting in number 11 Downing Street and not here. I think, firstly, we have to rebuild that relationship with the private sector, because it's investment from the private sector, investment in jobs, investment in infrastructure that's going to get the economy going again. We obviously need structural reform in a whole range of areas, whether that's in welfare, whether it's the NHS, so that we stop the NHS being the sort of money pit that it has been over the last not just 10, but sort of 30, 40, 50 years, actually. So there's all sorts of areas of government where we need huge structural reform. It's going to take time, and I think that is the message, is this will not happen overnight. There are countries all over Europe who are struggling really badly economically, and we're no different.
Yeah, talking of one country that is struggling economically, and in lots of other areas, is obviously Germany, where we have seen the awful terror attack. And today we can name the little boy that lost his life, is 9 years old, Andre Gleisner. And obviously, you know, it sounds a cliche, but obviously cliches are cliches, because it is thoughts and prayers with, obviously, all those suffering and those who have lost loved ones in this.
Absolutely.
But Germany is in a bad way at the moment in many, many areas, economically and with the migration issue. So this the third terror attack in, 18 months, is it?
That's
2
right.
years, yeah.
Yeah.
What does it mean for the German people, and what does it mean for their political side of things?
So firstly, I think it's the growth in support of the AfD is a populist backlash, a response to another country in which we've had a failing centre-right government for quite a long time, and where have you heard that before? I think we need to be really clear that the AfD are a far-right neo-Nazi party. They may say that they're just responding to ordinary people's concerns, but their solutions are extreme, they are not welcome, and nor do they have the answers that they say they have. This party is, just like other extreme parties all over the world, they make out that the solutions are really straightforward. They are not. These problems are complicated. And I think the fact that AfD members and activists are marching on the site of this horrific attack today is just beyond the pale. They should not be politicising this for their own extremist ends.
Andy, we've had a viewer get in touch. He's also called Andy, actually, and he says he says he's lived in Germany for 30 years now, and the AfD is not neo-Nazi, because they have cleaned up their acts and they've become a bit more mainstream. What would you say to that?
Well, I don't live in Germany, so to some extent I defer to my namesake there. But what I would say is that extreme parties always say, we've cleaned up our act, we've changed, we're mainstream now. And it's very rarely the case. I mean, that is the reality. Look at the Front National in France. They changed their name, they swapped the father for the daughter, they say, oh, we're mainstream. No, they're not. This is not within the mainstream political thought, and we should be particularly worried, given Germany's history, that a far-right party is doing so well in that country.
But of course, Andy, this is all about the tragic deaths of 5 people so far, hundreds of others injured. And I think the biggest question for me and a lot of our viewers, and probably for a lot of German citizens, is how on earth authorities, after repeated warnings, let this man slip through the net, and why on earth was not every single entrance, regardless of not whether it was an emergency entrance to that market, not barricaded?
Well, this is the right question for people to be asking, because what we're looking at here, as far as I can tell so far from what's been reported, is institutional failure on a pretty grand scale. You know, the perpetrator, the alleged perpetrator, was, I think, as you said, first sort of brought to the attention of authorities in 2013. Nothing happened to him. The entrance to the market, which allowed his car to get through and cause the horrific attack, should have been blocked and was not. So this is a question of institutions not doing their jobs properly. Clearly there'll be an investigation, heads will probably roll, but that is where we should be focusing our attention, at cleaning up and professionalising and sorting out these institutions that aren't doing their job properly. The answer is not to turn to the extremes and to look at far-right solutions to, complex problems, because extreme parties never have sophisticated answers to complex problems.
I think you're right. I think this is a case for looking more at the German authorities and how they ignored the warning. Saudi Arabia, where the accused came from, warned Germany 3 times that this person was dangerous. This person had extreme political beliefs, and the German authorities did nothing. There was one story I was reading about a Saudi Arabian woman that was living in Germany. She emailed the German police and said, "I've had contact with this person. He is not safe. He is threatening to do something horrific." And still nothing was done. So this has to lie with the German authorities now.
It does. And again, I say to people who say that the AfD are the answer and that what we should do is just close our borders or close our borders to Muslim countries, whatever that means, by the way. You know, how would that have actually made a difference in a scenario where there was...
He was in Germany legally.
Exactly. And he was in Germany legally for 18 years. He was a doctor. He was integrated in society. How would the AfD's proposed solution actually have done anything to prevent this tragedy? What has happened is there's been institutional failings and it's incompetence, it's cock-up.
But to be fair, even the new hard-left BSW party are weary of mass migration. They've complained about refugees being a drain on Germany's schools, hospitals and dentists. So it's not just to the right of the German political system. The left are saying the same thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm completely against extreme parties of all forms. I don't care whether they're left or right. I think in different ways they're equally dangerous and I think they're equally wrong. And I understand why, in Germany in particular, where you've seen over 1 million people from Syria come into the country, and there has been a vast wave of migration and huge, therefore, demographic change over a short period of time, I understand why people have concerns about that. But the answer does not lie in things like, for example, mass deportation. I mean, this is just crazy, it's immoral, and I really think we need to steer away from it and look at focusing on actually the solution here is, if you're talking about things like schools and hospitals, it's investing more money in them, it's building more of them, and it's about making them work better, training people so that we're delivering public services better. That's the solution. It's not this sort of broad brushstroke, you know, one-size-fits-all solution.
Yeah. Andy Williams, thank you very much. Political commentator Andy Williams there for you with the latest on the true horror story before Christmas from Germany.
Right, it's time to have a look at your weather now with Marco.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. Things are turning much milder now in the run-up to Christmas. Often quite a bit of cloud around, some outbreaks of rain. The rain mainly reserved, though, for the northwest of the UK. Looking at things in more detail for today now, though, and plenty of sunshine across the south and east of the UK. That sunshine turning a bit hazy this afternoon as cloud starts to increase from the west. And that cloud thick enough across many northern and western spots for outbreaks of rain to gradually work their way in as we go through the day. 1 or 2 heavy bursts developing across Northern Ireland and across Irish Sea areas later on. Turning milder out towards the west here, temperatures this afternoon up to 8 or 9 degrees. Still quite chilly, though, towards the east and southeast at 4 to 6 Celsius. As we head into the latter stages of the day, we hold on to a lot of cloud across the north of the UK, quite a bit of hill fog around, some outbreaks of rain at times too, so quite a murky end of the day here, but notice temperatures starting to climb up across western spots, so up to 8 or 9 Celsius. Quite a cloudy, murky picture too across Northern Ireland, spits and spots of rain around, but temperatures here up to around 10 or 11 Celsius by this stage in the day. Quite murky across many other western spots again, bits and pieces of rain blowing through the air at times, whereas towards the southeast it's still mostly dry here, and there'll be some clear weather to end the day. Milder, though, cloudy and rather damp weather works its way in across all parts as we go through the evening into the start of Christmas Eve. So a pretty murky, grey picture to start Christmas Eve. Outbreaks of rain mainly reserved for the northwest there. Elsewhere, mostly dry, but as I say, quite cloudy. And with a cloud around, a bit of a breeze too. It stays much milder than recent nights. Certainly a frost-free picture as we go into Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve itself, though, does look pretty grey. A lot of low cloud around, again, some hill fog in places. Mostly dry away from the northwest where we'll see outbreaks of rain at times. But again, a pretty murky picture. Temperatures very mild, though. Temperatures widely into double figures, peaking during the course of the afternoon up at around 12, even locally 13 Celsius. 13 into the mid-50s in Fahrenheit, several degrees above where they should be for the time of year.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
keep reaching for a moment.
Christmas is coming, and there's still plenty of time to grab a chance to win our festive treat for you, an incredible £50,000 in cash. It's the biggest ever Great British giveaway, and all of that tax-free cash could be yours in the new year. Here's all the details you need.
There's just 2 sleeps till Christmas and all through the land, GB News has the chance to win a nifty 50 grand. That's cash for the new year. You could go on a spree. And the best thing about it, it's totally tax-free. From Santa with love, you could be our winner. Just enter right now or right after Christmas dinner. It's a cracker of a prize, guaranteed to enthrall. From all of us at GB News, Merry Christmas to you all.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck indeed. What a brilliant new year that could give you. OK, still to come, we're remembering our veterans who might find themselves without company this Christmas. That's next. This is GB News Breakfast with Cameron and Dawn.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Lee Anderson's Real World, Fridays from 7 p.m.
I'm joined with Ryan Mark Parsons, who's a TV personality, a columnist, and he was on The Apprentice a few years back, weren't you? That's where most people would recognise your face from. One of the youngest contenders ever on The Apprentice. How did that work out?
Well, you know what? I never in a million years thought I'd get on the show. I was 18 when I applied. There were about 6 months of auditions. It was intense. You met Lord Sugar's advisors, his lawyers, his business advisors. It was the most intense thing I've ever done. And I just thought, never in a million years am I going to get on the show as a teenager. And I got the call from the exec. And he was like, you're one of the 16 candidates. And it was just like, really? So I took a gap year. I've just finished my A-levels. I was working in Harrods before. And I just came up with this business idea, took it onto the show, and I got fired in the end. I lasted 8 weeks, which wasn't too bad. But
what was the business idea? Educate me.
A concierge, similar to companies like Velocity Black, quintessentially, that work with some of the private banks. It was similar to that. I was inspired by my time in Harrods, working with some of these ultra high net worth clients. So I just wrote a 40-page business plan like we all have to do. But I didn't make it to the interview, so I didn't get to talk about it. But no, it was a great experience, a very tough experience, but unforgettable.
So at a young age, how did that change your life at that age? Because you must have got recognised, starting to be recognised when you're going out and about town.
Yeah, I mean, it happened quite quickly because the adverts start rolling out on BBC One and then the shows go on air. It's once a week on a Wednesday. You're getting about 7 million people tuning in every week.
Yep.
And yeah, it was surreal. It was surreal. And then suddenly you get invitations to things. You're going to premieres and it was a lot. It was a lot at a young age, and I obviously had no training for any of that, but I just embraced it and I've had fun with it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 7:22. Now, it may be less than 48 hours to go until the big day, but Christmas is not filled with joy for everybody. For some of our veterans, they might find themselves alone this week. But thanks to one charity in Greater Manchester, many veterans will receive the support they deserve. And our North West reporter Sophie Reaper paid a visit.
The most wonderful time of the year. For many, Christmas is filled with festive joy. But for some of our veterans, December can be a lonely and difficult month.
Christmas comes straight after Remembrance, and normally you used to get a dip in people's mental health after Remembrance, and it wiped them for Christmas. It's no secret that many veterans or many people serving come from council estates and broken families and stuff like that, so we get a lot of people that can't afford Christmas, struggle really bad with Christmas.
After being wounded in Afghanistan, Craig left the army, but when he returned home, he found the adjustment to civilian life difficult. So in 2018, he launched the Spearhead Foundation to support veterans like himself. Now they've helped over 4,000 ex-service men and women, in particular over the festive period.
We run a programme leading up to Christmas, which is getting donations of presents in, and then the veterans will then get allocated a list of addresses as volunteers, and then they'll go out and deliver these presents to those people. But they'll also, we basically try and bring that Christmas spirit in and try and get everyone involved in it. Last year we gave 214 present sacks out to families across Greater Manchester and the North West who had all struggled with Christmas.
Just one of the veterans helped by the foundation is Adam. When he first joined, he was struggling to the point where he was on the verge of taking his own life.
With the foundation, they've done a lot to help me on like no longer having them suicidal thoughts. It helped me a lot therapeutically to get rid of the bad thoughts in my head. The reason I'm still here is due to the foundation. They've done everything to help me stay in a positive way to keep myself alive.
Now Adam is in a much better place. He volunteers as the head chef at the foundation and has befriended another veteran. Together they keep active and share memories from their days in the forces.
One morning I was marking and a jet fired a rocket while I was in front of the target and it missed me. I felt a draft, so I nearly wasn't here.
Aged 93, Fred lives alone. But because of the Spearhead Foundation, he gets to be around other people like him on a daily basis.
I've always been quiet. The RAF brought me out quite a bit. But when you come back, sometimes you slip back to your ways. But now they've made me more easy, relaxed with strange people.
This time of year can often be a struggle for our veterans. But with the help of charities like the Spearhead Foundation, they too can experience the joy of Christmas. Sophie Reaper, GB News.
Gosh, it is wonderful, isn't it?
It's a really lovely report from Sophie, and you know we've done many reports over GB News in the festive period about the charities that are helping the homeless and veterans and people that are just generally lonely. Because I mean, there's never a worse time to be lonely and on your own at Christmas. It really just heightens all those emotions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But we mustn't forget that these people are there all year as well.
We certainly are.
Yeah.
And it's thanks to charities like the Spearhead Foundation that we remember veterans. And also, I think we should really spare thought to the armed services of the British Armed Forces who are going to be serving overseas this Christmas.
Yes, indeed.
And not spending time with their families.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And in America, they treat their veterans so much better than we do over here, and I never understand. In any case, if you would like to do your bit to support our veterans this Christmas, you can find all the information you need on the Spearhead Foundation website, which is www.thespearheadfoundation.com.
Now, don't go anywhere, as Paul Coit is here with the sport in just a moment. But first, here is the Vocal Zone Voice Studio Choir from South Derbyshire. You're in for a treat now with Silent Night.
Round yon virgin mother.
Silent night, holy night, shepherds quail at the sight, glory stream from heaven afar, heavenly hosts sing hallelujah, Christ the Savior is born, Christ the Savior is born. Silent night, holy night, Son of God, love's pure light, radiant beams thy holy face, with the dawn of saving grace. Jesus, Lord, at thy birth, Jesus, Lord, at thy birth.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cottbridge and Tomintoul because of snow, and in Perth and Kinross, the A93 is closed because of snow between Braemar and Lair. In Dumfries and Galloway, the A710 is closed in both directions south of Dumfries because of a fallen tree. There are delays of up to an hour and a quarter with some cancelled Stena Line sailings between Cairn Ryan and Belfast after problems earlier with the weather. Now, there's still some disruption to flights into and out of George Best Belfast City Airport after an incident yesterday. The Port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs, with sailings suspended between Holyhead and Dublin. On the M69 in Leicestershire, the northbound exit to the northbound M1 is closed after an accident. In the West Midlands, the A34 is blocked along Stratford Road at Sparkhill in Birmingham, where they're dealing with a fire. And in Surrey, the A287 is closed along Folly Hill in Farnham after an accident.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. I've just got to read this out. If you missed it before the ad break, we had the most wonderful carol, and it was Silent Night, and lots of you getting in touch. Wendy, good morning. Wendy says, oh my goodness, my favourite carol. Thank you, GB News. And Janie says, oh, that was lovely by that choir with a heart. Thank you. I really enjoyed it as well. It's lovely.
It was so lovely. Dawn also says it was a beautiful, not you, Dawn, another Dawn as well, says beautifully sung by the choir.
Yeah.
Oh, very festive.
Yeah. We weren't taking part, otherwise we don't hate you that much. We really don't hate you. Well, actually, you can sing.
No, maybe not. We're not this early in the morning anyway.
Paul, how are you singing?
Can you sing?
Oh, beautifully. I was doing the descant throughout all of that.
Ah, right.
Wonderful.
I remember the descant. You remember the descant? It was like there's another little bit in there. I can't remember which song.
A very high bit.
Yes.
Once in Royal David City.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Yes.
It's been a year since I've done a descant.
But what you are probably quite good at is football chants.
Actually, no, I'm not really. No, I mean that's the thing. When I go and go to away games, I've never really got into the not really.
Well, you are semi-working as well when you're at school.
That's true.
Semi-working.
It doesn't look so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a fair bit of chanting, most of it coming from Liverpool fans yesterday, to be fair. 6-3. I mean, honestly, it's this 6-3, a football game. Spurs 3, Liverpool 6. Liverpool are it was a crazy game, and Liverpool are looking so good at the moment, so they're top of the Premier League. And certainly they were the best team, and it could have been more than 6. But Spurs scored 3 against Liverpool. Not many teams do. No, they just so happened that 6 went in the wrong end, but even so, they scored 3. Manchester, talking about 3, Bournemouth scored 3 away at Manchester United, so that was 3-0. Ruben Amorim, the new manager, this bounce is still waiting for the new manager bounce there. Talking of which, Vitor Pereira, who is the Wolves manager, the new Wolves manager, 3-0 away at Leicester, and considering they couldn't buy a win, it's just this. It's so bizarre. Isn't it?
The new manager bounce.
It is.
It is what it is.
There's a new manager bounce. That's bizarre, really. And also the fact that there are so many strange results. And I think over Christmas, I think we can expect even more of them.
Yeah.
Back in the old days, I mean, if we go way back, even to the early 60s. And there's... I'll see if I can find it, actually. Maybe we'll do that in the next hour. There's a famous Boxing Day. They used to play on Christmas Day. They used to play on Boxing Day, mainly Boxing Day. And there's a list of results where you've got teams are scoring 7, 8, 9, and they would usually play the same team home and away over Christmas. So they were fairly local. But it's just a bizarre Christmas thing.
Yeah.
So what are your predictions for Boxing Day, then, if you think it's been...
I haven't made those yet. I mean, I made the other ones. I got 2 right, by the way, on our website. So I managed to get 2 right yesterday, because I did have a disastrous time the first week. So it's me against Clive Allen. So I did OK, but my Boxing Day predictions, they may look a little outlandish.
Right.
But, you know, but I think there's going to be a lot of goals around. There was a famous scene, again, for our clubs there at Dawn, Spurs against West Ham, back in the day, where Jimmy Greaves... Oh, God, do you remember? There's a famous film of Bobby Moore and Jimmy Greaves, who then, during the game, they start dancing together. I don't think you'd get that these days, but I love that.
I love that, but they don't make football like they used to, and I part of me does miss the old days.
It's a very serious business, that's right. Very serious business.
Too much money. Too much money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, Tyson Fury, he's not very happy, is he?
No, he's not. I mean, he got beaten, I think most people know, over the weekend, where he was beaten for the world title against Alexander Usyk. So it's the second time he's lost. It was over in Saudi Arabia. So now we think, what happens now to Tyson Fury? I mean, he's rich beyond his wildest dreams. Yeah. But everybody's always, if there's more money around, they're going to go for it. So it was going to be a trilogy. That's not going to happen now. He's not going to fight Usyk again. He says that he won the fight. But again, he wasn't very gracious about the whole thing. I think we can hear what Tyson Fury had to say after the fight. Anyway, have a look at this.
I didn't feel no spirit. I felt a little bit of Christmas spirit in there, and I think he got a little Christmas gift from them judges. Christmas gift early.
The hangers on. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're not going to disagree with you. But he did lose that fight. I think the argument was the fact that the judges gave him less rounds than probably he deserved, but there was no question that Usyk won the fight. So now we're looking at Tyson Fury against Anthony Joshua. Now, this is the fight that we were looking forward to about 5 years ago, whereas they're both like, where do we go from here? But can you imagine that at Wembley Stadium in summer? It's not going to be for a title, but it is that battle of Brits that everybody's wanted to see. And I think the smart money should be on that. I mean, everybody's going to want to go. They're taking like a 250 million fight. They're expecting like around 100 million each. I mean, it's insane money.
It's so much money. That's too much money.
A lot of people will want to see it. Fury against Joshua.
Right, OK. Next time, Paul, you're going to tell us more about Santa and why he's in Venice.
Yes.
Evidently. Evidently, but for now...
We're trying to find the sport link, but I always say that I'm the head of sport and pastime.
Yes, exactly, yeah. But you're not head of Christmas trees.
Oh, yes, I am.
Because we haven't got your Christmas tree, though.
Oh, yeah, I didn't take a picture of a Christmas. I'm the only person in the country that actually hasn't taken a picture of a damn Christmas tree.
Well,
Everybody puts them on.
We have, haven't we? Yeah, we have. I think, and you've been sending in your fabulous Christmas trees as well. So let's have a look at some of the ones you have been sending in.
Oh, apparently we're looking at mine.
Oh, right,
first.
OK.
So
well, why wouldn't we?
Here's mine. There we go.
Oh, that's very nice.
That's quite nice.
It's quite short and wide, isn't it?
It is quite short. The ceiling's
Is that yours
quite low.
or is that your mum and dad's?
That may be my mum and dad's.
Right,
yeah,
OK.
I didn't want to show you mine, which is slightly different in London.
It's quite tasteful. Let's have a look at mine. Is mine coming up next? Yeah, look, I mean...
white.
I have actually come dressed as my Christmas tree this morning. It seemed...
If you'd had a competition where I had to guess whose Christmas tree was whose, I think I probably would have.
You don't get a white Christmas dawn, but you do have a white Christmas in your living room.
The husband did try and sneak a red bauble on there. Not happening. It has to be white. What about Susan in Buckinghamshire? That's nice. That's very traditional,
decorated.
Susan. We like that. Yeah,
that's
very traditional.
Alan
Price.
Oh,
Alan's done a video for us.
He has done a video for us.
No.
But Susan's in Buckinghamshire.
It was very traditional.
You have out-Christmas treed us all.
Yeah.
They're even better than maybe I shouldn't say that. I was going to say they're even better than the ones in the studio.
The baubles are disappearing rapidly, though. I mean, now Coit's had a go at getting one off.
I'm still covered in glitter from the GB News bauble. Did you say we have the video now? Great.
Oh, let's have a look now.
Alan's Christmas tree. Wow. Flashy lights.
Oh, hello.
Like that.
You don't want to live opposite Alan, do you?
I like it. It's got a disco effect going on, Alan. I like it.
It's so festive.
Yeah.
See, Christmas sparkly lights with different colours is what makes Christmas.
Yeah. It should be. It shouldn't be all mono, should it, Dawn? It really shouldn't be mono. You should have a bit of colour on your Christmas tree, evidently, according to husband.
What, even as much as Alan's?
Well, I like Alan. Alan, that's a lovely treat, and thank you very much for the video. But keep sending them in. How'd they send the Christmas trees in?
Well, gbviews@gbnews.com. UK.uk. There we go.
That's the one. OK, now, during Advent, as we count down to Christmas Day, we are hearing from church ministers across the country. Each day, they have a special message for you to celebrate the festive season, and here's today's.
The GB News Advent Calendar, Day 23.
Hi, it's Josh from The Send. Emmanuel, God with us. In Malaysia, I was once travelling on a boat that got caught in a storm. It was cold and wet, and I was afraid. When suddenly, someone found me in the corner. She gave me a blanket and said, "I'm here, you're safe now." This reminded me of God's heart. Emmanuel, God with us. Christmas celebrates a God who didn't stay distant, but who steps into our broken, stormy world to be with us. Jesus is saying, "I see you, I'm here." Whether life feels joyful or heavy, his presence is constant, offering peace, comfort, and a way through the storm. As you put lights on your tree or hear a Christmas carol this year, remember, God is closer than you think. Merry Christmas.
I love those. I really do love them, I must admit. Even if you're not religious, it's just a spirituality and kindness of Christmas. And you can see all our special Advent messages as Christmas approaches by visiting gbnews.com/Advent. And indeed, a very Merry Christmas to you.
Now, if you are in search of some winter sun, here is the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, welcome to your latest winter sun forecast brought to you by the Met Office. We'll see an east-west split weather-wise across southern parts of Europe over the next few days. Mostly fine in the west, more unsettled further east. Could see a few showers on Christmas Eve across the Canaries, but for much of Iberia, it's set fair, plenty of sunshine around here. And then we run into more unsettled conditions across southeastern parts of Europe, some wind, some rain, even some hill snow in places. And that east-west split continues as we go through the Christmas period. Further unsettled weather to come in the east, generally fine the further west you are.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Osama bin Laden issued a fatwa entitled World Front for Combat Against Jews and Crusaders, and President George W. Bush talked of a crusade on terrorism. In 2010, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula sent a parcel bomb to New York. It was addressed to Reginald of Chatillon. The addressee had died at the hands of Saladin in 1187. Those facts suggest that the long history of struggle between Christendom and Islamic caliphates remains relevant, at least to some militant Islamists. That being the case, perhaps we should all understand the past. General Sir Simon Mayle, a former Deputy Chief of the Defence Staff Operations, can be our teacher, particularly if we want to know in gory detail about battles to control Jerusalem, Constantinople, Vienna and the Eastern Mediterranean. His new book is called The House of War. It's an excellent read, which perhaps ought to figure in a national adult curriculum. And he joins me. But let's begin with the word crusade. What was it that drove Christians around Europe to want to cross to the Holy Land and seize Jerusalem?
Context and timing is really important to understand. It's been rather stereotyped as Christian aggression against peace-loving Muslims. The Islamic religion had burst out of the desert in the 7th century with the death of the Prophet Muhammad. And for the next nearly 400 years had Christianity, Christendom, the Christian states absolutely on the back foot. It took the Holy Land, destroyed the Persian Empire, took the North Africa, which was Christian at the time, including Egypt, of course, took Spain all the way into Tours, Charles Martel. 100 years after the death of the Prophet, it expanded in an extraordinary state.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. Sorry, I'm flicking glitter all over poor camera.
Claire Muldoon's now walks back in the studio, which means I'm covered in glitter again.
Exactly. I just want to read that. This is
me.
This is
next to be calling me the elf on the shelf.
Yeah, this is Ali, guys, I just want to read this message out. This is from Seaside Lauren. And Lauren, you're in Canada. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What time is it in Canada? I've got no idea.
In Canada.
But thank you. Good night. But not yet. Carry on watching for now. Dawn, you know you want two of the sparkly flag baubles to wear as earrings to go with your sparkly jacket. Confess, Dawn, you want to. Actually, next time round. Do you reckon?
I think they'd suit you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Very Bet Lynch.
You might knock someone out when you turn your head.
There's only Cameron I can knock out, isn't there?
I would say more pantomime dame.
Thank you very much. Can you say that to me? Yes, I do work with Biggins. Biggins is in Panto. In any case, as you might have spotted, we have Claire Muldoon and Andy Jones, both broadcasters and journalists, evidently, it says here. Now, we were talking about Christmas trees and glitter, which we are now covered in. So should we start with this one? Because we like this one.
Yes.
And by the way, keep sending your pictures in. We love the pictures. And how do they send them in again? Sorry, Cameron.
gbviews@gbnews.uk is the email address.
Yes, so pictures of trees, because evidently there's a tree Zempic effect. Claire.
Because homes are smaller, rooms are smaller, and no one knows where to put the trees now. Gone are the days of the big drawing rooms and the big sitting rooms, and you could have a big light on, the big light off. You knew every year where your big tree would go. But this year, they're naming it the Tree Zempic effect, after a Zempic, because everything has got slimmer, everything's got shorter, everything's got smaller in the terms of trees. And Baubles in this studio will be getting smaller in a minute as well. So we're very much interested to know what your tree is like, our viewers, and please do, as Cameron's just said, send them in, send the pictures in.
Who's got the smallest tree?
I've sent mine in.
Have you?
Yeah.
Have seen yours yet?
I've sent mine in.
OK, we need to get Claire's tree up on screen.
I haven't even got mine up.
You don't have your tree up, Andy?
Andy?
And it's the 23rd of December.
No, we're not going to be here, and it's just going to be... we've got a little bit of stuff up, but, again, it's this position of... It's quite expensive, and then you buy it, and then there's nowhere to put it. The other thing that's happening, obviously, is people are more of a rental culture now. People have less space. It's not only people getting smaller trees; they're also not buying those reusable ones because they don't have the loft space to put it in. They don't have the cupboard to put it in, and a lot of people are dialing it down a little bit. And I love Christmas, obviously. You know, trying to wear my festive sweater.
Very festive.
But there's nowhere to put stuff. And it is a little bit... It's a huge thing. It's a huge undertaking, and I love putting it together.
I'm sorry, there is no excuse, right? We don't even have a loft, right? We've only got a little flat as well, but we do have a cupboard of doom, as the husband calls it. So the Christmas stuff just lives in there, OK? The tree that is now 4 or 5 years old, but I'm doing my bit. I mean, it's plastic, but I am recycling it every year, as the decorations as well. So there's no excuse. I mean, come on, my tree's 8 foot.
A lot of people don't have a cupboard of doom. A lot of people, their bedroom is barely bigger than a cupboard of doom now. And I think you've just got people have got no space. But I do remember the family Christmas tree we had. The dad would get it down from the loft. Then you'd pull the branches out like this. Loads of fun. Yeah.
Well, I've got a real tree, and one of my kids that returned from Australia actually came back, and she's been back a couple of weeks now. She turned round and said last night, "Oh, it's a real tree."
Right, and she's only just noticed.
Could have thumped her. And my son said, "Yeah, that's why we're watering it, Steph." I mean, really? Gen Zers? Get out.
Really? I'd much prefer a real tree.
Yeah.
Hold on. We've got a picture of your tree.
Where's Claire's tree? Come on, let's all have a laugh.
Have a laugh.
You said I look a pantomime dame.
Apparently it's here. There we
Look
go.
at it.
Wow.
Actually, it's
that
quite
tree has
Isn't
not
it
been
stunning?
on this Zempic, though.
No, it's not.
No.
Just like myself.
No. It's got quite a curvy bottom, it has to be said.
Yeah, I mean, the tree is me.
I think there are some other viewer trees we can look at as well. This is Lynn's, watching from the south of France.
Oh, look at that.
Très joli, très joli.
Yeah.
That's quite chic, isn't it?
That's très chic, yeah, and I love that. Well done. And Paul, not Paul Coity, I'm assuming. That's quite petite.
Yeah,
that looks like a storage issue going on there.
Nice though.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that fits perfectly
Simple
between the
but
TV and
effective.
the fireplace.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
It's
I like
a lovely
the star.
glow.
Yes.
Yes.
On top.
Nice glow.
Yeah. And we've seen Claire's already. Anyway, should we talk... We've talked Christmas tree. Should we talk about Christmas food now?
Yeah.
Right, what's happening with this one, Andy?
Yeah, major supermarkets recalling... It's always an urgent recall, isn't it? It's never a casual recall. Major supermarkets are urgently recalling Christmas dinner favourites. I think this is used very loosely, by the way, some of the foods. I don't think these are Christmas dinner favourites. Ahead of the big day, over fears they could pose a danger to customers. Because of some sort of warehouse issue, several items containing potentially dangerous bacteria have been left out in warehouses and now worriedly on the shelves way beyond their use-by date, which means this bacteria is now active at places like Tesco, Aldi, Morrison's and Dunnes. Items of concern: Tesco's red cabbage and apple. I wouldn't eat that anyway, to be honest. With some Wicklow brand cheeses and slices of cooked beef.
OK.
I'm not sure red cabbage and apple is very Christmas.
Andy, I'm afraid we've got a little bit of an issue with your mic, so we're going to hopefully try and sort that.
Okay.
But as you said, yeah, a lot of Christmas foods are potentially being recalled, Claire.
Well, yes, indeed. But moreover, the next story is about Gen Z forgoing the traditional Christmas lunch. I mean, yes,
No,
yes,
not happening.
yes,
What are they having instead?
Oat milk. No, I'm being funny.
What, for Christmas lunch?
Vegan, plant-based things. They are
Obviously.
forgoing completely turkey. They're just completely regaling against any form of tradition. It's just awful.
What is it with that generation and not wanting tradition?
And you're not
I'm
quite.
not.
You're not
I am a
quite,
millennial.
because I accused him earlier on.
Yes,
But
Dawn did.
just-
I'm just a millennial after a couple of months.
Now, Gino De Campo a couple of months ago said that, you know, it's one of the most important days of the year is Christmas Day.
Yeah.
But why are we having turkey when we never eat turkey? Lots of people don't even like turkey. Why do we reserve turkey for such a special occasion? And maybe some Gen Zs have picked up on that because they are saying that it's unreasonable for them to do a full turkey with full trimmings, and they're now insisting on a major makeover, opting instead from anything from vegan pigs in blankets to roast duck paired with dairy-free bread sauce and gluten-free mince pies.
Andy, what do you
I
make
mean,
of
come
that?
on.
Is it because they're more calorie conscious? Or is it also because they're, you know, rented, not going home, they haven't got lots of people coming around, and they're just buying sort of meals for one, this sort of thing?
No, it's got nothing at all to do with that.
Is it just a cultural shift?
It's a cultural shift.
Yeah.
And I know that my two kids that have come back from their uni houses, they all have Christmas lunches together as a house and stuff like that. But they've all been quite traditional, which I'm very happy about.
I wonder if it's an issue that generation, perhaps some of them, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them can't be bothered to cook a big Christmas dinner. It is a lot of effort.
The issue would be they're swapping the tradition for something that they actually would prefer to have. That they're taking all the fun out of it.
Oh,
gluten-free, fat-free. Where's the fun?
Where is the fun? But we're going to have more fun with you two in the next hour, where you're going to be talking about jingle smells.
Yes.
But first, let's get the weather with Marco Patanga. Here it is for you.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. Things are turning much milder now in the run-up to Christmas. Often quite a bit of cloud around, some outbreaks of rain. The rain mainly reserved, though, for the northwest of the UK. Looking at things in more detail for today now, though, and plenty of sunshine across the south and east of the UK. That sunshine turning a bit hazy this afternoon as cloud starts to increase from the west. And that cloud thick enough across many northern and western spots for outbreaks of rain to will gradually work their way in as we go through the day. 1 or 2 heavy bursts developing across Northern Ireland and across Irish Sea areas later on. Turning milder out towards the west here, temperatures this afternoon up to 8 or 9 degrees. Still quite chilly, though, towards the east and southeast at 4 to 6 Celsius. As we head into the latter stages of the day, we hold on to a lot of cloud across the north of the UK. Quite a bit of hill fog around, some outbreaks of rain at times too. So quite a murky end of the day here. But notice temperatures starting to climb up across western spots, so up to 8 or 9 Celsius. Quite a cloudy, murky picture too across Northern Ireland. Spits and spots of rain around, but temperatures here up to around 10 or 11 Celsius by this stage in the day. Quite murky across many other western spots again. Bits and pieces of rain blowing through the air at times. Whereas towards the southeast, it's still mostly dry here, and there'll be some clear weather to end the day. Milder, though, cloudy and rather damp weather works its way in across all parts as we go through the evening into the start of Christmas Eve. So a pretty murky, grey picture to start Christmas Eve. Outbreaks of rain mainly reserved for the northwest there. Elsewhere, mostly dry, but as I say, quite cloudy. And with the cloud around, a bit of a breeze too. It stays much milder than recent nights. Certainly a frost-free picture as we go into Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve itself, though, does look pretty grey. A lot of low cloud around, again, some hill fog in places. Mostly dry away from the northwest where we'll see outbreaks of rain at times. But again, a pretty murky picture. Temperatures very mild, though. Temperatures widely into double figures, peaking during the course of the afternoon up at around 12, even locally 13 Celsius. 13 is into the mid-50s in Fahrenheit, several degrees above where they should be for the time of year.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A832 is closed along Moybridge at Marybank because of flooding. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul because of snow. Dumfries and Galloway, the A710 is closed south of Dumfries because of a fallen tree. There are delays of up to an hour and a quarter with some cancelled Sten Line sailings between Cairnryan and Belfast after problems with the weather. There's some disruption to flights to and from George Best Belfast City Airport after an incident yesterday. Trains have been stopped between Blackburn and Clitheroe because of a fallen tree on the line. Port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs, with sailings suspended again today between Holyhead and Dublin. In the West Midlands, the A34 is blocked each way along Stratford Road at Sparkhill in Birmingham because of a fire. And in Surrey, the A287 is closed in both directions along Folly Hill in Farnham after an accident.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Imagine getting a call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'm sorry, don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. A dark shadow over Germany as tributes pour in for the 9-year-old victim of the Christmas market attack.
The mother of Andrei Gleisner remembers her little teddy bear as authorities come under pressure to explain why the Saudi Arabian doctor accused of murdering 5 people was not stopped sooner.
As the hard-right Alternative for Germany prepares to march near the scene of the attack later today, could this be a respite for civil unrest over the festive period?
Peter Mandelson moves in on Farage. Britain's new ambassador to the US admits he might need the Reform leader's help.
Interesting. And breaking news this morning as the economy flatlines, leaving many to ask if the Chancellor is chasing a recession.
We'll be speaking to the Shadow Culture Secretary about that and more in just a few minutes' time.
And it might be less than 48 hours until the big day, but for some, Christmas isn't always so joyful. We're meeting the veterans who gave so much to our country and yet find themselves alone during the holidays.
And have you done your Christmas shopping yet? Well, never fear, as we've got one of the best chefs in town here in the studio with tips on how you can cook up a festive feast.
And in the sport, another crazy game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as Liverpool beat Spurs 6-3. Manchester United are well beaten again, and the Santa Claus regatta is taking place. Well, okay, it's kind of sport, you know, it's pastimes. It's taking place in Venice.
Hello, good morning. We've got an east-west split weather-wise across the UK today. Plenty of sunshine in the east, outbreaks of rain starting to work in from the west, accompanied though by some milder temperatures. I'll have all the details later.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Cameron Walker.
And I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News Breakfast. I am now really intrigued by the Santa Claus regatta in Venice. I must admit, it sounds like... I mean, it is sport, though.
It is. It's boats. Boats are sport, racing. Going along the water.
Yes.
Santa Claus, kind of, yes.
Yep.
Pretty cold this kind of year.
Well, I don't know. Is Venice warm? Chill? It's a bit chilly.
It's cold.
Yeah.
Venice is really surprisingly
cold. Is it really cold?
Yeah,
this time
I went
of
there
year?
in February and it was really cold.
Well, it is magnificent, the regatta.
Yeah. No, it is
I'll show you. You will enjoy it.
Was the real Santa Claus there, or just the little helper Santas?
I think it's the helper Santas, because there's too many of them, I imagine.
Yeah.
Because he's more of a sleigh sort of guy. Yeah. Less a boatman, more of a sleigh person. Yeah. So anyway, we'll have a look.
And he's going to be very busy at this time of year.
I imagine. Yeah, I imagine.
As many of you are as well, because your Christmas trees are fantastic.
Oh, they really are.
We have some really, Paul Coyte's Christmas tree, evidently.
Oh, my tree?
Do we have your tree?
I believe we do.
Let's have a look at Paul Coyte's tree.
Let's have a look.
That's Paul Coyte, that's not a tree. Even I can
Well, they
tell
just
the
have a nice tree in the background.
Yes.
Where's
my tree?
Where's his tree? Come
See, the thing is, my wife, we've got an argument going on. That's not my tree. No.
Is this Liam's?
That's not my tree.
No, this is Liam's from Carlisle.
I knew it was Liam's.
I'm loving the blue tinsel.
Yeah.
That's my favourite bit.
Tinsel? Where are you with tinsel? Because my wife, we've got an argument about... She says tinsel, I love tinsel on a tree.
Tinsel...
She does not like tinsel on a tree.
It's a bit old school, it has to be said.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Sometimes the old ways are the best, Dawn. Sometimes the old ways are the best of
Tell me about it, love.
Shall we have a look at Wendy's in Scotland? Now, that is a very well-decorated tree.
That's lovely.
And I believe it took her 2 days to decorate it as well. Wow.
That's a lot of baubles. And it's really nice festive colours, isn't it?
Yeah, Wendy, that's so much
Well done, Wendy.
decoration.
Yeah.
Well done.
And Sarah from Cheshire.
Oh,
that's nice. That's frosted, isn't it?
That's right up your street.
So that's up my street. It's more white, more. I'm loving
silvery,
that one,
glittery.
Well after my own heart, thank you.
Similar colours to your Christmas tree in your lounge, Dawn.
Yeah, mine is literally white. The husband does keep trying to sneak coloured things on it, but sorry, it's grounds for divorce.
You're matching with your blazer today.
Who doesn't come dressed as a Christmas tree at this time of year?
Well, I haven't, although you're trying... That is your mission, I think, by the end of the morning, because we have a sparkly Union flag bauble,
and if I
the glitter is molting.
If I do this and then stroke Cameron, I know that's, HR, whatever, but it's like... It's glitter all over him.
Glitter, yeah. So by the end of the day...
Yeah, and I'm going to start putting it on your hair and your face, and you've got to get a train straight after this one as well.
Yeah, I know.
Could be an interesting journey.
Poor Helen in makeup is not going to love you, Dawn.
Cameron, this is not the first time you've been covered in glitter. I
don't... Yes, usually in the summer.
OK, fair enough.
In Ibiza?
Yeah.
You are blushing again, isn't it?
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh, OK. Great. I'm looking as red as... Oh, we do have
hold on.
tree.
Breaking news. We have... Paul Coyte Street.
Oh,
fingers
please,
crossed.
there it is.
There we go.
That's lovely.
That is
your thing,
Now, Paul, be honest.
Yes.
Who decorated this tree?
Well, a bit about... Yeah, I tell you, the problem was is that we've been so busy, we bought the tree, and then it was sat there for a week, and then finally got the tree, so it was done. Wife, me... son, daughter, even dog did a bit, I think, and it was all done over a lot of time. So there we are. That's in the.
That is a lovely tree.
Well, thank you. You don't have to say that. Thank you.
Was the dog decorating parts of the tree?
Well, actually, there was a problem the first time when Dudley the dog. When the first year we had him, he actually did bite into the lights. I told this story and heard a bang, and I went running downstairs, and I thought, oh no, the dog's dead, please no. and poor Dudley is like that. So now Dudley does not go near a tree.
No.
Oh,
so I think Dudley knows better now.
Has learned his lesson.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
Cocker Spaniel.
Oh, poor Dudley.
Yeah.
At least he lived to tell the tale.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, for now. You haven't got home yet.
Well, no, but he keeps away from any trees after what happened. So please, careful.
Probably for the best.
Yeah.
Well, keep your trees coming in because obviously there is an incredibly hard, sad news story we have to talk about as well. Tributes have been flooding in for the 9-year-old boy, Andre Gleisner, who has been named as the youngest victim in that German Christmas market attack.
Yes, and taking to social media, his mother called him my little teddy bear and said he would always live in our hearts.
The attack left 5 dead and over 200 injured, with some remaining in a critical condition.
Well, that's as the hard-right Alternative for Germany prepares to march near the scene of the attack, with German authorities coming under fire after warnings of the suspect were repeatedly ignored, it would appear.
GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White joins us now with the updates on this story. Mark, thank you for joining us this morning. Mark, a horrific story at any time of year, just before Christmas, even more poignant. What's the latest on it?
Well, some very difficult questions that are facing the German authorities, not just about warnings apparently received by from the Saudi Arabian government and indeed by a member of the public, but also just how this vehicle was able to get access to that Christmas market in Magdeburg on Friday. Apparently it had used an emergency service vehicle access point, how that was available for require a civilian vehicle to get in there will form, again, part of the investigation. But on the more pertinent point first, I think, in with regard to the warnings received by the German authorities, this man, Taleb Abdul Mohsen, had come to Germany in 2006 to seek asylum. He was eventually granted asylum under Angela Merkel in 2016. And during that time, on multiple occasions, there were diplomatic cables that came from the Saudi government warning of this individual's extremist views, accusing him of people smuggling. He was involved apparently in trying to seek refugee status for a number of Saudi women over that time as well, and apparently was highly critical of the German government and the way in which it had treated Saudi women, according to reports. And then last year, there was a separate approach to German authorities warning about this individual's postings on social media, which appeared to be very threatening in nature in terms of doing harm to German members of the public there. But it seems that very little, if anything, was done on the warnings, first of all, from Saudi Arabia, and then that separate warning last year from a member of the public. So all of that will have to be factored into the investigation going forward. What the German authorities are clear about is that this was a deliberate ramming attack. And I think for many members of the public, and indeed those that are going to be taking part in this protest today, issues around whether he was an Islamist or an anti-Islamist really will be lost here, because what they are very concerned about is that you have someone who came to Germany as an asylum seeker, who was granted the protection of the state in 2016 and then turned on his adopted country in the most horrific way, killing 5 people and injuring more than 200, with some real fears that that death toll could increase in the hours or days ahead.
Mark, one of the positives to come out of this story I was reading, if there is that the German people will not be bowed down by this. There's a story in, I think, the Times today about they are still, obviously that market is closed down, but the Germans are not giving in to terrorism. They're getting on living their lives. They're going to their Christmas markets. They're drinking their glühwein. They're not giving in to this, which is surely the attitude we all need to take to these attacks, because terrorism only works when it terrifies us.
Yes, absolutely, and you will see that after any kind of attack that takes place in any country around the world, where people will come together and will be determined through a voice of solidarity not to be bowed by any kind of atrocious act like this. But that doesn't really mitigate from what is some real concerns in Germany and other European countries about what they see as uncontrolled mass migration and the potential security risks of that, not necessarily knowing the full facts about people that are coming to a country and being granted leave to remain in that country. We face those concerns here in the UK, in other European countries, of course, including Germany. And as far as Germany is concerned, they go to the polls early in the new year with a resurgent right of centre party there in terms of their anti-immigration policies, or at least their policies which are very geared towards the security of Germany and not at all in favour of what they would say is mass and uncontrolled migration.
OK, Mark White, our Home and Security Editor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Now back to this morning's breaking news. The economy stagnated in the third quarter, meaning no growth. Along with Italy, we had the lowest growth in the G7.
Well, it's another blow for Labour and Rachel Reeves's budget, which for many is starting to look like the tip of the iceberg, with talk of a recession potentially next year.
We're joined by political commentator Peter Barnes to drill down into this story. Peter, it doesn't sound like there's any good news, any festive good news coming for Labour anytime soon.
No, it doesn't, and Rachel Reeves looks rather like a reindeer caught in the headlights, doesn't she? I mean, what can we say? We knew as soon as they said something was a budget for growth that this was going to lead to no growth, it was going to lead to job cuts, it was going to lead to shop closures, and it was going to lead to absolute chaos, no matter what they tried. I mean, what I find staggering was Keir Starmer at the liaison committee, when asked rather openly, was there anything he would change? He openly said no. He said no. He thinks this is going wonderfully. I mean, yeah, he's either on a completely different planet or I'll have whatever he's putting in his eggnog. I mean, it's absolutely astounding levels of just incompetence. I mean, how can you take an economy that for the ONS was said was going gangbusters? You know, it was looking like we were the fastest growing economy in the G7. I would remind people that was a Labour manifesto pledge to continue that, and now we're looking at stagflation. We're going back to the 1970s. I know Back to the Future is somewhat of a Christmas classic for for the BBC, but maybe we should try it and keep it on TV rather than keep it in our politics. This is absolutely a staggering stuff. But yet again, how are we so surprised when we are attacking farmers, we're attacking pensioners, we're attacking the WASPy women, we're attacking everybody, but we're doing nothing to cultivate jobs and growth and the things that people need to have a jolly Merry Christmas. I mean, I hate to be the Scrooge and the Grinch, but I mean, I think that job's taken by Rachel Reeves, but it's just absolutely astounding stuff that we're looking at right now, when every major business forecaster is coming out and saying this economy is done for, and it's because of the budget. The first question we should be asking, well, when should we be expecting resignations?
OK, Peter, the Chancellor Rachel Reeves has spoken in the last hour, and she says the challenge we face to fix our economy and properly fund our public finances after 15 years of neglect is huge. Our plan for change will deliver sustainable long-term growth. What do you say to the Chancellor's statement there?
When is your resignation? Because that is an absolute load of nonsense. The fundamental reality is that the £22 billion black hole, the ONS can't find it. There is no justification for these tax rises, and there is absolutely huge amounts of spending when we look at the massive amounts of inflation we're about to face to do with giving their friends in the trade unions huge pay rises, and that's what this is all about. This is not about fixing the foundations of the last 15 years. This is about doing the jobs for the boys and doing favours now they're in power. You know, we're spending billions of pounds on this absolute nonsense carbon capture programme. There's no justification in that. You know, we're looking. She fiddled with the debt rules to even begin with all this stuff. Where is she getting this from? Because I'll tell you right now, it's not the Bank of England, because they've said that her budget is partly to blame for this. It is absolutely amazing to me that they still, to this point, will not admit that they've got this wrong. The danger of these progressive politicians is laid bare right now, because if they can't admit they got this wrong, how on earth can we trust them on literally anything else? The economy is number one for so many people at every time of the year, and not just now. And we're seeing job cuts and closures up and down the high street, and it will start to take its effect again and again and again. We are really on recession watch now, and if the Bank of England is making these noises, and every business leader is making these noises, the government has to come to reality at some point. At some point, they must, and start to say we got this wrong, and start making corrections pretty quick.
OK, Peter Barnes, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Now, we're joined now by Shadow Secretary for Culture, Media and Sport, Stuart Andrew. Stuart, thank you very much for joining us this morning. GDP figures out this morning, zero growth, not good news again for Labour.
No, it really isn't. And as Peter was just saying, you know, this is a really worrying time. They talk down the economy, so it's no wonder that confidence is falling. But then they made some disastrous decisions in the budget, not least the national insurance contributions hike, which is having a real impact on confidence for businesses and what they were thinking about for their future and any investments that they were thinking for growth. And then, you know, I obviously work very closely with charities, for example, and they are facing a significant hike in their national insurance contributions bill, totaling about £1.4 billion. That is not money that they can find overnight. You know, these are charities that are planning well in advance for the donations that they need to receive, and to try and find that sort of money is, I would say, nigh on impossible.
And Stuart, it looks like that extra money that the Treasury is taking from charities could represent just over 45%, is it, of all donations from the public?
Yes, so the total bill now, national insurance bill, will be about £6.3 billion. When you think the total donations is £13.9 billion, that's a significant amount of money that the Treasury will be taking. And it's this hike of £1.4 billion. You know, there are charities like Marie Curie, for example, who estimate that it's going to cost them nearly £3 million. I used to be a charity fundraiser myself, and I know that I used to have to plan well in advance a budget of where I would get those donations from. If someone had said to me, right, next year we need you to find another £3 million, I just simply don't know where I would have got that money from. And the decisions then that the charities are going to have to make are very difficult ones. Do they have to scale back some of the services that they provide, or do they have to lay people off? So that is why we put down amendments in the House to exempt charities from this, because they do critical work across our country.
I'd just say, Labour would say that you had 14 years and they are just clearing up the mess that you've just left them, and they've only been in power for 6 months, coming up to 6 months. Give them a chance.
Well, they inherited the fastest growing economy in the G7, and now look where we are. And that is a direct result of the decisions that they have made. This black hole, as Peter was just saying, you know, the ONS can't find it. The reality is they have made some serious decisions that are impacting our economy. I was talking to a businessman in my constituency. He started up his own small business, very proud of what he'd done, worked really hard, was about to take on 3 new people to employ. He's now decided he can't afford to do that. And as a result, he's going to outsource instead. That's just one business. Imagine that multiplied across the country, and it's no wonder that we have gone from being the fastest growing economy in the G7 to where we are now.
You speak of small businesses, small charities there. The Treasury said that they are protecting small charities and businesses by more than doubling the employment allowance to £10,500, meaning more than half of all employers with national insurance liabilities either gain or see no change next year. What do you say to that?
But the reality is that these are some of these charities, particularly, are facing a significant increase at a challenging time when they're trying to find donations, for example. Homelessness charities have just written to the Chancellor to say that they fear that there's going to be £50 to £60 million taken away from the frontline services that they provide because of the decision made on national insurance contributions. This is having an impact, and that is why we are saying they need to reconsider this, because it is going to have a direct impact on the economy, direct impact on charities and on businesses, and they really need to think again.
Stuart, can I just ask you about the appalling terror attack we've seen in Germany recently? I mean, we are now witnessing armed guards patrolling our own Christmas markets and barriers put in place as well. Are you convinced that, are you concerned that there is a risk in this country of a similar attack happening?
Well, look, I mean, I think all of us are just utterly appalled by what we saw in Germany, and I cannot imagine what it is like for the families of the victims. It is just absolutely appalling. Obviously, there's an investigation that is now happening. We need to make sure that that does. I have to say, you know, I take great faith in our security services in this country. They do an incredible job trying to make sure that our streets are safe, making sure that they have the best intelligence possible, sharing that internationally. And that is the right thing to do. But, you know, everybody should always be vigilant. But, you know, my thoughts and prayers are just with all of those people at the moment. I just cannot imagine how they are feeling.
Yeah, and the worst possible time just before Christmas as well.
Indeed.
Stuart Andrew, Shadow Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, thanks for joining us.
And a Merry Christmas to you and yours. OK, we move on. Belfast City Airport is getting back to business this morning after a shock crash landing left the airport in chaos.
Yeah, the nose of an Aer Lingus aircraft collapsed as it landed yesterday evening, but luckily there were only 4 crew members on board. Those crew not injured, and there were no passengers.
Experts say the incident was a result of adverse weather conditions. So we're now joined by a GB News Northern Ireland reporter, Doogie Beattie. Doogie, thank you very much for joining us this morning. What's the latest on this story?
Well, yes, welcome to Belfast City Airport. This airport used to be a military airport, so it only has one runway. Now, it takes an awful lot of traffic in and out of the island. And last night, well, it was about 4:15 yesterday afternoon, that Aer Lingus flight, Emerald Airways, came in from Edinburgh. It was a placement flight, so as you were saying, there was only 4 crew on board. It came in on really severe crosswinds, and as it was fighting to land, you can imagine that all planes land back wheels first and then drop the nose down. And of course, as he came in, he was struggling with the crosswinds, and the nose came down first and the front undercarriage went up in underneath the plane and blocked the runway. Now, that caused chaos here because everybody tried to get home for Christmas. Flights were then diverted to Belfast International, that very quickly became full to capacity, and many more flights then were redirected to Dublin Airport in order to get people home safely. Now, this late last night when I arrived here, we filmed a bit of it, and the air investigation people were on the runway having a look at it. And of course, the management here were very, very keen to get that runway cleared very quickly. They have done just that, and this morning flights are back up and running again. In fact, as I've been standing here, there's been quite a few jet planes coming and going. And of course, jets can really deal with this weather far more than a propeller plane, and of course it was a small propeller plane coming in to land, and it really was fighting with the wind. It is lying at the bottom of the, well, just off the runway, but it's well out of bounds of anybody else, and it will be basically trying to be fixed this morning or had a look at and put back into the air again. But things are back to normal this morning in Belfast. It was an incident that could have been an awful lot worse, but thankfully nobody was hurt in it, and they're back running once more.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Dougie Beater, our Northern Ireland reporter there. Thank you, bringing up to date on that. Well, it could have been far, far worse. Thankfully, no one was injured.
Absolutely. Now, as at GB News, we love to hear what you think. Every day, we'll be running our poll of the day, and today we're asking, should shoplifters face jail as number of unsolved offences rise by 38%? We'll be bringing you those live results throughout the day, so make sure you keep tuning in. The final results, of course, will be announced later in Nana Okoye's show.
Yeah, and for all the latest polls, news and how to vote, just go to gbnews.com/poll.
Right, so you see what the weather's looking as we go travelling for Christmas. Marco's got your weather.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. Things are turning much milder now in the run-up to Christmas. Often quite a bit of cloud around, some outbreaks of rain. The rain mainly reserved, though, for the northwest of the UK. Looking at things in more detail for today now, though, and plenty of sunshine across the south and east of the UK. That sunshine turning a bit hazy this afternoon as cloud starts to increase from the west. And that cloud thick enough across many northern and western spots for outbreaks of rain to gradually work their way in as we go through the day. 1 or 2 heavy bursts developing across Northern Ireland and across Irish Sea areas later on. Turning milder out towards the west here, temperatures this afternoon up to 8 or 9 degrees. Still quite chilly, though, towards the east and southeast at 4 to 6 Celsius. As we head into the latter stages of the day, we hold on to a lot of cloud across the north of the UK, quite a bit of hill fog around, some outbreaks of rain at times too, so quite a murky end of the day here, but notice temperatures starting to climb up across western spots, so up to 8 or 9 Celsius. Quite a cloudy, murky picture too across Northern Ireland, spits and spots of rain around, but temperatures here up to around 10 or 11 Celsius by this stage in the day. Quite murky across many other western spots again, bits and pieces of rain blowing through the air at times, whereas towards the southeast it's still mostly dry here, and there'll be some clear weather to end the day. Milder, though, cloudy and rather damp weather works its way in across all parts as we go through the evening into the start of Christmas Eve. So a pretty murky, grey picture to start Christmas Eve. Outbreaks of rain mainly reserved for the northwest there. Elsewhere, mostly dry, but as I say, quite cloudy. And with a cloud around, a bit of a breeze too. It stays much milder than recent nights. Certainly a frost-free picture as we go into Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve itself, though, does look pretty grey. A lot of low cloud around, again, some hill fog in places. Mostly dry away from the northwest where we'll see outbreaks of rain at times, but again, a pretty murky picture. Temperatures very mild though, temperatures widely into double figures, peaking during the course of the afternoon up at around 12, even locally 13 Celsius. 13 is into the mid-50s in Fahrenheit, several degrees above where they should be for the time of year.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, joining us now is Feng Shui expert Karina Sophia, who's going to share some of the best ways to ensure that our homes are still feeling calm as well as beautifully decorated this Christmas time.
One of the Feng Shui myths is that Feng Shui is all about moving furniture, and it isn't at all. Oh. Well, there is a little bit of that. It is about the flow of energy, but it starts outside, so there's lots of different forms of Feng Shui. So what we're going to talk about today is one form called Flying Stars Feng Shui, and there's another one that's classical, and form Feng Shui starts outside. If a 5-year-old would walk past your house and be happy, then the energy will.
I love that.
So if a 5-year-old would like to see more, would like to come in and would touch anything and not get hurt, then it's a good thing and the energy is feeling good and wants to come in as well.
What about the light colours? Does that matter? Does that come into play?
Yes, there are different colours. Depending on the direction, the compass direction of your home, there are good colours that support energy inside the home. So if your home is facing north, for instance, then it would be sitting south, and the inherent energy of the south is fire. So you want to have red or green, which is wood that fuels the fire, and that supports the inside of the home. Now, I just painted my door red a couple of days ago, and then I got this opportunity, so don't underestimate it. You want to decorate your tree with whatever you want to manifest. Whatever it is that you want to bring into your life. So this speaks for itself. It says joy.
Oh.
And it has a little bell
I
on
like
it.
that idea. I can get on board with this. So you decorate your tree with things you'd like to see in your life.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to put some joy.
That would be nice.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Now, how excited are you for Christmas? Very.
I am very, hence the sparkles.
Particularly because of this next item.
Oh,
Many of you have a favourite, of course, for the festive trimmings for the Christmas dinner table. Turkey, roast potatoes, Brussels sprouts, all the rest of it. Christmas pudding, maybe, Dawn?
No. After you've eaten the Christmas dinner, who's got a room for pudding? However, I will occasionally have a bit of fish.
Will you?
Yes, but salmon is also, no one believes me, but I say salmon is also a good hangover cure, people, just in case you're partaking of a festive drink. So, but is salmon part of your festive feast? It is for mine, and one man, I'm glad to say, is here with a salmon for us, and all the top tips for serving Christmas dinner, and it's Chef Theo Michaels. Thank you very much for joining us, Theo.
Pleasure to be here, as always.
With a plate of food.
Yes.
What's not to
I'm
like?
so hungry.
Well, I bring gifts.
You do bring gifts.
Beware a Greek bringing gifts, that is what they say.
No, I love Greeks bringing gifts.
Oh,
absolutely.
Especially
Let's just
at
get on with
breakfast
it.
time when I'm hungry.
So tell us more about salmon and Christmas. I mean, you know, traditionally we eat salmon at for breakfast with a glass of champagne. Not that Cameron and I are now obsessed with drinking champagne.
Yeah,
but it's okay. I've had it for Christmas dinner as well.
No, I don't. I think I am a bit of a traditionalist, if I'm honest, right? So I do love the big roast turkey, and we've got a big roast turkey we're doing at home. But there is a place for everything over Christmas, and so I think a beautiful roasted side of salmon, a beautiful whole place of turbot, incredible over Christmas. And I think it's actually really not about the food, is it? It's about bringing people together and using food as that platform to enjoy each other's company. But I do love a centrepiece at Christmas. So I think if you're going to go for it and you're not opting for the turkey, you know, I said a beautiful side of roasted salmon. The turbot, I think, is a wonderful fish. It's meaty and it's large and it makes a great centrepiece. But I think you're allowed to freestyle this a little bit.
Absolutely. So what have we got on your board here?
So what I've made here is some homemade gravlax. This is home-cured salmon. It's so easy to do. It's basically, and make this at home this Christmas, right? It's a great, as this is my sort of entertainment backup. This is,
right, okay.
You're both looking at me like, you can keep talking, Theo, but you need to serve.
Yeah, well,
I feel like that's the vibe I'm getting.
Crack on with it.
Okay, let's crack on with it. So let's talk and serve. So, a side of salmon with the skin on, like from a supermarket, no bother at all. And then you make a nice brine to this. So the brine is a couple cups of like rock salt, half the quantity of. Do you want some pickles?
Yeah, why not?
A little bit pickle on the side.
So what's it? Cucumber and dill? Is this?
Cucumber, dill, coriander seeds.
Lovely.
And that helps sort of cut through the richness of the salmon. If you like, and a bit of classic cream cheese, why would you not? So you make a salt and sugar mixture.
Thank you.
You put that together, and then basically you put that onto a baking tray, lay your salmon on top, cover it in the salt and sugar sort of dry brine. So this is totally now encased in this sort of salt and sugar mixture. Cling film it, pop it in the fridge, 2 days.
2 days. 2 days.
2 days. Take it out, and you'll notice it will extract all the moisture. Okay. And you've cured your salmon. Then I just put a little bit of dill on top to make it look good, taste nice. But then that can sit in your fridge for a week, and it's great. So if someone suddenly pops round, you can very, very smugly go, oh, would you like some of my home-cured gravlax?
Nice.
And you can feel really smug about it, and you can cut a few slices, pardon me, and it sits there in your fridge for the whole duration.
The chances of something this tasty sitting in my fridge for any length of time are literally zero.
Yeah. So, Theo, if you wanted to make this for Christmas Day, you'd have to start it today, right?
You'd start it today, and if I'm brutally honest, this wouldn't be your main meal of the day, right? This is as we're doing now, a nice little sort of taster. I think the champagne you mentioned would go
we keep mentioning champagne. No one brings it in.
Not beard yet.
How many times can you hint, right, before someone delivers it? That would be great as a sideline. If you were to do a lovely turbot, or, you know, hake is a beautiful fish, any of the fish, really. You know, there's a million recipes out there, but I think for Christmas, just a lovely bit of olive oil, bit of dressing on top, roast it away, bring out this beautiful centrepiece, serve it with all the standard trimmings, and indulge in a lovely Christmas. Eat too much.
It sounds super easy to make as well if you've got the time to let it cure.
I think this is great all year round, but at Christmas I love it because generally we have people popping in and out the house all the time, and it's quite nice just to be able to offer something, right? And normally you've got this sort of lump of ham somewhere you're carving in, but how nice to cut your own, and actually it makes a really great gift.
So obviously, absolutely, that's a really good idea actually for last-minute presents out there, by the way. Not speaking about myself. So I mean, this research today is suggesting that Gen Z are giving traditional meal of turkey and trimmings a major makeover, and they're going vegan or they're having takeaways. I mean, macaroni and cheese for Christmas dinner? I mean, come on, who's doing that?
Do you know what? It breaks my heart.
You're a chef, you must be passionate about food.
I am passionate about food, and if I'm honest, I'm a traditionalist as well, and I think you've got to actually work to keep traditions alive, right? They don't just happen. You've got to put a bit of effort into that. So I'm all for, you know, a great vegan dinner. I'm all for, let's go for a big centrepiece. Let's have a lobster for our Christmas dinner. I'm all for that. But I think when we move into the world of let's have mac and cheese from the local takeaway, a bit of my soul dies from hearing that, if I'm honest. Like, I want it to be special. I want Christmas to be special, and I want the food to be special, and I want to celebrate the food as I celebrate my loved ones around me. And something turning up in a Tupperware box doesn't infuse me the same way.
No, it's not the best, is it? I mean, Theo, can you adapt the traditional Christmas dinner? And what I mean by that, for example, Brussels sprouts, which Dawn doesn't particularly care for, does she?
Wow.
But if you add like chestnuts or pancetta, butter.
I fully agree. I think there is no rules to food, right? Because it's a very personal thing. You're going to make it and you're going to consume it and you want it for your own pleasurable preferences and taste. So 100% freestyle. For me personally, I love Brussels sprouts shredded, fried off in a pan, bit of butter, nigella seeds. I mean, throw some pancetta in there if you want as well, or a few chopped chestnuts. But make it for yourself. There's no rules to this game at all.
My argument with that is they cease to become Brussels sprouts and they start becoming bacon and nuts.
Well, it tastes better.
Well, exactly. So don't eat Brussels sprouts and just have the bacon and the nuts.
Do you know how good Brussels sprouts are for you? They're incredibly great. They're like a superfood, and they taste phenomenal. Dawn, I'm going to convert you. This time next year,
force-fed.
I'm coming in with Brussels sprouts, 3 varieties, and I'm going to convert you.
OK, all right, you're on. That's a challenge. And for your Christmas day, what are you doing quickly?
So I am cooking a whopping large turkey and a big lamb shoulder at my house. And then I drive it over to my mum's, who's about an hour away. And then my mum, who's an incredible cook, love you, Mum, will make a whole load of other things as well. And it's great because the big secret for your Christmas turkey is let it rest at least an hour. I mean, my one this Christmas, by the time I get to mum's, will be resting for at least 2 hours.
Wow.
And it is succulent and delicious.
So it's not too dry. Oh,
absolutely.
It sounds like I'm round his.
Yeah.
Brussels sprouts or no
There is
Brussels
always
sprouts.
space. There's always space for you guys.
Theo, thank you so much.
Lovely to be here. Thank you.
Celebrity chef with some lovely food. Thank you so much. And a very Merry Christmas to you and your mum.
Thanks, Theo. And there is still plenty of time for you at home to win £50,000 worth of cash even in our Great British Giveaway, tax-free. And here's all the details of how you can win.
There's just 2 sleeps till Christmas and all through the land, GB News has the chance to win a nifty 50 grand. That's cash for the new year. You could go on a spree. And the best thing about it, it's totally tax-free. From Santa with love, you could be our winner. Just enter right now or right after Christmas dinner. It's a cracker of a prize, guaranteed to enthrall. From all of us at GB News, Merry Christmas to you all.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A832 Moy Bridge at Marybank is closed because of flooding. In Murray, the A939 is closed because of snow between Cockbridge and Tomintoul. In Dumfries and Galloway, the A710 is closed south of Dumfries because of a fallen tree. There are delays of up to an hour and a quarter to Stena Line sailing between Cairnryan and Belfast. Some disruption to flights at George Best Belfast City Airport after an incident yesterday. Buses replaced trains between Blackburn and Clitheroe because of a fallen tree on the line. Port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs. In the West Midlands, the A34 is closed along Stratford Road at Sparkhill in Birmingham after a fire. Buses replaced trains between St Pancras Station in London and both Bedford and Harpenden because of engineering works. And in Surrey, the A287 is closed in both directions along Folly Hill in Farnham after an accident. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Britain's Newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Maria, potholes are the bane of everybody that uses the road, whether you're a car driver or a cyclist. As a cyclist, are even worse. How have we got into this situation where our roads are in such a bad state?
Well, part of it is to do with actually our climate. In somewhere like, say, Sweden, like the snow will fall on the ground, it will stay there for months. Whereas here we've got what's called a freeze-thaw climate, where the water comes down, then we might have a cold snap and it freezes. and the water within the pothole will then expand and make the pothole bigger. Then we might have a mild spell, and then that process repeats. So, we do actually need extra funding to acknowledge the fact that, we just live in a climate where we're sort of particularly vulnerable to potholes.
Why? I mean, the fact that this happens, these weather conditions happen, is no great surprise to anybody. Why has the problem been ignored for so long?
I think what's happened is we've had short-term funding. So it's like, oh, there's a pothole, let's patch it up. Oh, there's another one, let's patch it up. But the patches aren't actually really that strong, so then they break down again. So, really what we need is to have roads completely resurfaced, and then they'll just be pothole-free for a very long time. And that really is how funding should be. That's the direction funding should go in, as opposed to just sort of dribs and drabs here and there.
Do you think this government are going to be good for the motorist, or is there indeed a war on the motorist still?
The different parties come in and they've all got different policies that they wheel out, then they cancel the policies, and then there's so much lack of transparency. Like, for example, with the pothole issue, sometimes the government, whichever government is in office, will do some big showboating about how they're going to give X amount of potholes, and you still think that sounds really good.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back, 8:42. Time to go through the latest sports headlines with Paul.
Liverpool are very good,
They are.
Are they?
Spurs not so good.
Well, Spurs 3, Liverpool 6. Honestly, even when I look at that, I'm thinking, is that right? 3-6, I was there. It just sounds like a tennis score. It was a crazy game. Liverpool 4 points clear at the top. Huge amount of injuries Spurs have had. Ange Postecoglou is fed up with people having a go at the way he decides he wants to play football. And he's not very happy. Shall we see?
Yes, please.
Go on, Ange.
I think I've been really, really patient the last 18 months, sitting up here answering the same questions over and over again. If people want me to change my approach, it's not going to change. We're doing it for a reason. We're doing it because we think it'll help us be successful. If people don't understand the circumstances we're in at the moment and the challenges we have from a team and squad perspective, which are as obvious as you'd want to make them, now, I get the idea that people think, that I should just flick the switch and change, and somehow that would miraculously make us a different team. But it is what it is.
The Tottenham manager sounding very patient I think patience wearing thin, maybe?
I just want to say, Ange, it's not me. I wouldn't say that, certainly not. What's interesting is that he's saying, people are saying this and, I think we're going to flick the switch and getting very unhappy about it. And people are nervous, and it's when you hear certain journalists interviewing, and there's a few things they would say. That one of them is, people would say, Ange, that maybe the way, the style, and it's like, not me, but someone else, and obviously being very careful about it. And it's like, well, Ange, tell me, what would you say to those people? And he goes, he's saying you. Go, no, not me. But anyway, it's incredibly entertaining. Whatever you think about what's going on at Spurs, lost 4-3, won 5-0, won 4-3, lost 6-3. There's a lot of goals going.
It sounds like you're playing bingo.
It does.
Full house here.
It
Got
really
the full
does.
house.
Yeah. And so anyway, so Liverpool though, they are very, very good, and they've got to be.
They are very well. They're going to win, aren't they? But I am fascinated by Ange. I must admit. Can you imagine Christmas at home with Mr. and Mrs. Ange?
Oh.
Go on, do your Ange impression. Ask him for Christmas dinner.
Mate, you call this a turkey. You call this a turkey. It's like, yes, sorry, no, this is the best. Sorry, are you criticising my Christmas dinner? No, I wouldn't approve of it. So Man United, but we love him. We do love him. Man United 0, Bournemouth 3. Ruben Amorim, it's a bit of a tricky start for him. Third loss in 4. Early days for the manager, but there's no managerial bounce, unlike Wolves, who certainly had one,
Definitely
beating Leicester 3-0. Yeah. Incredible. Everton 0, Chelsea 0. You would have thought Chelsea would have won that, but it's a new owner bounce for Everton because they've got the new free group which have taken over. And Fulham, Southampton 0-0. The less said about that one, I think, the better. It wasn't a great game.
Yeah, I'm just not talking about football at all until the new year.
No.
Well, yeah, we'll see. Look, the darts, the World Championship is on. Things are ramping up there. It's one of those things. I don't know about you there, Cameron. Have you sat in front of the darts and watched any of the darts?
Not very recently.
I think you should, because it's one of those things you think, you find yourself sitting in front of the TV and then hours have gone because it does engross you if you find yourself watching it.
Yes.
So trust me, give it a go. Luke Littler played on Saturday night. Now, he was in tears.
He's only 17.
But I forget how young he is.
But this is it. He seems so much older, and it seems like he's been around forever, but it was only this time last year that everybody started hearing about him when he was 16. He's got to be favourite to win this world title. And he broke the record, which is the tournament record for the set average. So this is an average for 3 darts in a whole set, which is 140.91. Which is absolutely remarkable because you have to take into consideration you've got to end on a double as well. Whereas the most, obviously, as most people would know, is 180 or 140. 2 trebles and a 20. So that is incredible. But he said he was nervous beforehand. He cried afterwards. There's a lot of pressure on this kid's shoulders right
and he
now.
is so young.
Let's not forget that. There really is.
We're running out of time, but we did tease that we'd be talking about Santa in Venice.
Yeah, let's have a look at it, shall we? The Velisana Parade of Santa Clauses. And this is in Venice. Through the canals of Venice, there's Santas on the boat. Have we got the Santas on the boat?
Have we got Santa pictures?
Santas on the boats.
Yeah.
Now look at this.
Oh, wow.
They have prizes. It is a sport, so, it's a pastime. It's a sport.
Yeah.
Prizes for the fastest boat, the best decorated boat. They have Christmas cards, hot chocolate, panettone and sparkling wine.
Wow.
What a place to be. And this was yesterday, through the canals, and everybody dresses up. Look, you see those there? They're like the reindeer. The reindeer are rowing.
That's
Well,
good.
you've got Santa on the back.
I love that one.
So many. So there's hundreds of boats through the canals. What a great place to be there to see. Although it looks like there's only 2 there, but there was a lot more. And and how many editions do you reckon they've had over the years? What would you guess at Venice?
100.
Well, you go for 100.
Yeah, I'm going to go for 100.
150.
The answer's 12.
Oh, OK, we were both way out. But I love the dedication.
We thought it'd be like been going for hundreds of years, but maybe it will do in the future.
But
I don't know, he's got a bit lost there.
It's not the real Santa, they're just Santa's helpers, because the real Santa is very busy.
Yeah, as Santa.
He really
Real
is.
busy at this time of year.
And some great decorations on the boats as well.
Yeah.
With the Christmas trees, the baubles again, reindeers.
Baubles.
Look at you. You got Christmas fever, haven't you?
Yeah, we really do. I'm excited now.
But I've got my bauble. We've got some more trees. Have we got more trees? Can we do some more trees? Sharon from Cheshire. Is this Sharon's? Sharon, I'm not sure what's going on.
So Sharon says
we live upside down.
Well, Sharon says we live in a tiny house and we have a dog, so our tree is actually on the ceiling, as we can see here. It's a real branch and it stays up all year as a light, but we decorate it at Christmas too. That is very innovative, Sharon.
I love that. And meanwhile, Linda, we got Linda's tree. That's a
carrot tree.
That's amazing.
That's a bit squished.
They're all carrots.
Oh yes.
Wow.
Carrot cuddly toys.
Right.
Well, because we've been talking about people slimming down their Christmas trees, that it's a narrow tree with lots of carrots on it.
With lots of carrots. For the reindeer.
There we go.
For the reindeer.
Sorted.
Yes. OK, and what's this? This is Louise, is it?
Louise.
It's a little top heavy, that one, isn't it?
I like that. I think that's
is
quite sophisticated.
Yeah, and she says, here is my space-saving tree, but I got it as I have 2 cats and they like to climb it.
Yeah.
There are lots of videos online of cats launching themselves into Christmas trees, sending decorations everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Coity's dog almost electrocuted himself.
Yeah.
Very light.
He's OK, though.
And this one is from Alfie, is it? That's from Alfie. That's quite... I'm not quite sure what's going on at the bottom of that.
There's a gnome, and there's an angel on the top as well. Christmas sparkle.
OK, all right.
We like that.
Well, OK. Next, going through the papers is Andy Jones and Claire Muldoon. But first, if you're in search of some winter sun, here is a forecast, if you're going to Venice or not, for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello, welcome to your latest winter sun forecast brought to you by the Met Office. We'll see an east-west split weather-wise across southern parts of Europe over the next few days. Mostly fine in the west, more unsettled further east. Could see a few showers on Christmas Eve across the Canaries, but for much of Iberia, it's set fair, plenty of sunshine around here. And then we run into more unsettled conditions across southeastern parts of Europe. Some wind, some rain, even some hill snow in places. And that east-west split continues as we go through the Christmas period. Further unsettled weather to come in the east, generally fine the further west you are.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Lee Anderson's Real World. Fridays from 7 p.m.
Last orders at the bar, and I'm joined by Geordie Shore star Ricky Guanaccio. Have I said that right? Is that Italian?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Is Italian? Your parents
Well
Italian?
done.
Is it?
Pronunciation was pretty much perfect.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, look, mate, Geordie Shore, I've never watched it, mate, so I do apologise about that. But I know these reality TV shows are making big stars out of the people, making you famous, making you loads of money. Is it worth it?
For me personally, yeah. It's been a hell of a career. Been a hell of a lot of fun doing it. Ups and downs, but first and foremost, money-wise, yeah.
That's good. So people stopping in the street, you being famous, wanting the autograph and all. How do you cope with that, Ricky?
Well, when we first started doing the show, I mean, we got our show off the back of Jersey Shore in America. We never expected the fame that we got, and you know, being one of the biggest reality TV shows in the UK and now the world. You know, it's in 150 odd countries worldwide. Wow. It's pretty crazy. It's when you're living in houses. I mean, for example, Geordie Shore and Love Island's probably the same as well. When you're living in villas and you're living in houses, the arguing side sort of plays on your mind. You've got to deal with all that. You know, it's a hard place to be. It's a pressure cooker.
You're living in one of these villas, Ricky, or one of these houses. Do you ever wake up one morning and think, what am I doing here?
When I first started, yes. Yeah. Now, I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't mind all the, you know, there's no emotion connecting me now with film, and it's kind of like I go in there, it's fun, or it's, you know, it's dramatic, whatever it may be.
Have you ever worked behind a bar?
No.
No?
Yeah, for not a long period of time. My mum and dad had a...
Well, I can
definitely messed this one up.
Yeah, I can actually believe that you've never worked behind a bar.
Yeah, so my parents sacked us when I worked in the restaurant.
Well, obviously, I mean, you wouldn't get a job here with a pint like that, would you?
Do you want it?
No, mate, no.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Front of the Star. Jingle smells. I'm not sitting away from Dawn for a reason.
I used to edit it, but I do actually have a... Well, what is the story about? Claire Muldoon and Andy Jones are back with the paper review, and it's obviously the story of the day. So who wants to go down this road? Claire, I think it's your story, isn't it?
Right, OK, jingle smells. 1 million of us, apparently, will not shower between the days of Christmas Day and New Year's Day. That's 3 days, I think, or a week of almost no showering. And people will wear the same pants.
Oh, no, boy.
Surely you get loads of new pants over Christmas. There's no excuse.
It's a staple, isn't it, of a stocking?
New pants and socks.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no excuse.
Yeah.
But why is this, then, with no washing for 3 days?
Well, what's the motivation? Why?
I think it's sloth. I think it's laziness.
I think it is. I think, look, I mean, we've all been...
We're all
eat too much, yeah.
Right?
It's been a hard year, people. You're sitting on the settee, you've got your top of quality street on your lap. This is just me, by the way. You've got your dressing gown on. It's just a lot of hard work. But don't shower.
But don't shower. Surely it's pleasant to shower.
We wish you a
And you're going out and seeing family and friends or whatever. Surely you're changing your clothes. You're not going out there in your pyjamas.
Well, they're too lazy to wash, apparently. We're too lazy. Britain's facing jingle smells this Christmas, with 1 in 4 revellers admitting they will not shower for at least 3 days.
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
I think lounging around in your jammies.
Smell of...
I just want to go home and get back into mine now.
I mean,
Well,
even
yeah,
if you do
more work to do, though.
Even if you do have GB News for company over the festive period, which you should do, of course, it just makes you feel a little bit better, perhaps having a shower, a bit more alert, a bit more awake.
Yeah, go and have a shower, brush your teeth, and then get back into clean pyjamas and try out all those lovely festive scents you've got.
Yeah, because you get smelly. Because we're together, so I will be giving you a smelly test after Christmas just to make sure that you have got your festive scent on and you have had a shower. And then we'll need to put the cheese down. Just quickly, anything else we want to do? Just very quickly. What about the weather? I know it's the weather, but it's going to be as hot as Rome. Andy, I know you don't talk about it. I'm going to make you. Weather.
The newspapers boldly predicting it's going to be hotter here than in Corfu. It's going to be the same temperature as Rome. It's going to be hotter than the Greek islands. But, of course, it's only going to be about 12 degrees. So it's just going to be medium.
But that's quite warm.
Claire Muldoon,
right.
Andy Jones, thank you very much for our time. Thank you. Let's get the weather forecast, shall we?
Christmas.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A832 Moy Bridge at Marybank's closed because of flooding. In Murray, the A939 is closed between Cottbridge and Tomintoul because of snow. In Dumfries and Galloway, the A710 is closed in the south of Dumfries because of a fallen tree. Some flights at George Best Belfast City Airport remain disrupted after an incident yesterday. Buses replaced trains between Blackburn and Clitheroe because of a fallen tree on the line. In West Yorkshire, the A645 is partly blocked by an accident on Bondgate in Pontefract. The port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs. In Cheshire, the A530 is blocked northwest of Crewe. In the West Midlands, the A34 is closed along Stratford Road at Sparkhill in Birmingham because of a fire. Buses replaced trains between St Pancras Station in London, both Bedford and Harpenden because of engineering works. And on the M25 in Surrey, there's a lane closed anti-clockwise where someone has a puncture between junctions 11 and 10 from Chertsey to the A3.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good morning. It's coming up to 9 o'clock. Now, the economy stagnates in another blow to the Chancellor's budget.
Labour blames 0.0% growth in the last quarter from July to September on 14 years of neglect, by their Conservative predecessors.
But with accusations of a recession made by Downing Street, is anyone buying Labour's narrative? Have a listen to the Chief Secretary to the Treasury's response.
We start from a disappointing set of economic statistics as we end 2024, but that's why we're going to fight every day to make sure that we improve the lives of working people across this country.
Meanwhile, another hit to the government as hundreds of shoplifting offences go unsolved as the year closes. We're speaking to the Lib Dem spokesperson for women about what they would do next.
Indeed. And a dark shadow over Germany as tributes pour in for the 9-year-old victim of the Christmas market attack.
The mother of Andre Gleisner remembers her little teddy bear as authorities come under pressure to explain why the Saudi Arabian doctor accused of murdering 5 people was not stopped sooner.
And that's as the protest group Alternative for Germany prepares to march near the scene of the attack later today. Could this be a recipe for civil unrest in Germany?
And it might be less than 48 hours until the big day, but for some, Christmas isn't always so joyful. We'll meet the veterans who gave so much to our country and yet find themselves alone during the holidays.
Hello, good morning. We've got an east-west split weather-wise across the UK today. Plenty of sunshine in the east, outbreaks of rain starting to work in from the west, accompanied though by some milder temperatures. I'll have all the details later.
Good morning, it's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Cameron Walker.
And I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News Breakfast. We had the wonderful chef in earlier on who was doing our salmon for us, wasn't it?
Oh, yes.
It's a good hangover cure, by the way. Believe me on this one. I've got some of it stuck in my teeth.
We're treated very well here on GB News Breakfast.
Yeah, we are.
But now all I'm doing is craving a Bucks Fizz.
Because I mentioned it and I'm leading you astray.
Yes.
And it's like, well, but for us, because we were up early this morning, weren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not together, that would be wrong. But we were up this morning, so it feels like kind of lunchtime now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's socially acceptable if you've been up since, what time did you get up? 2 in the morning?
2:15, the alarm went off this morning.
2:15. OK, mine was 3 o'clock, so a little bit better. But by the time we finish, I feel like it would be acceptable.
And you're going to get on the train to go home to your family.
Yes.
Covered in glitter from our festive baubles in the studio. And I think Claire Muldoon, our newspaper reviewer, has borrowed one. Covered in glitter and with a glass of bubbly in your hand on the train.
Yes, people are going to be looking at me thinking, what on earth is he doing? Oh, well, it's Christmas, we're allowed.
Exactly. And thank you for joining us on this very busy Monday. We appreciate your time. Thank you. Now, not good news on the economy. Latest GDP figures released this morning showed that UK economy flatlined in the third quarter.
Yeah, GDP grew by 0.0% between July and September, revised down from the estimate of 0.1% growth and down from 0.5% in quarter 2, so not great.
Speaking this morning, Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Darren Jones, had this to say.
So look, this Labour government is going into 2025 with absolute resolve to work with investors, wealth creators and workers across the country to stimulate economic growth and improve living standards for workers across the country. This is our number one mission as a government, and we start from a disappointing set of economic statistics as we end 2024. But that's why we're going to fight every day to make sure that we improve the lives of working people across this country.
Well, we're joined now by political commentator Peter Barnes. Peter, welcome. What do you make of Darren Jones's comments there following the figures being released?
Well, it's quite interesting that Darren says that they want to work with all the investors and all these types of people, but when the CBI is coming back and saying that the economy is in the worst of all worlds, are they even listening to the people that they're supposedly working with? I mean, they talk about 15 years of neglect. The Office of National Statistics said the economy was going gangbusters. We were the fastest growing economy in the G7. You know, whilst we're on recession watch, what I really think we should also be on is resignation watch, because how the Chancellor can continue with her job after these figures right now is absolutely beyond me. I mean, we're looking at a Chancellor that is this rather like Rudolph in the headlights, you know, completely out of ideas. You know, this kind of £40 billion tax rate has just killed the economy dead. The national insurance contribution has hollowed out small and medium enterprises, and many which 16 million people work for. It's why we're seeing job cuts, hiring freezes, and closures. That is the legacy of this government, and we're only a few months in. I mean, at what point do we start saying that this budget for growth has been a budget for nothing? I mean, that's the point. We've not even grown. We've not gone anywhere. It is stagnation. We're looking more than likely at the 1970s style stagflation as we're starting to see inflation start to rise as well. I think we're heading back to the 1970s, not only in our politics, but in our economy as well. These are really troubling numbers that are coming out of us today, and it is not good news at all.
Peter, Labour would say that give us time. It's only been 5.5 months and we didn't inherit a great situation. We are starting from scratch. This is just the beginning. You need to give us more time.
Well, unfortunately, time is something that the people on the streets just don't have. You know, you've got to let it happen. And I understand that the economy works in cycles. Everybody gets that. But when you are inflicting such dramatic measures with absolutely no care for the impact that they're having, then I'm sorry. I don't care how long you think you need. Your policies are damaging the economy and you're damaging people's pockets. This is the reality of what they're doing. You know, when we're seeing job cuts, we're seeing hiring freezes, and we're seeing closures up and down the high street, and it all points back to the budget. You have to start asking, was the budget the right thing to do? And evidently, from all the information being thrown at the government, it clearly wasn't. They say they want to work with investors, they say they want to work with business leaders, but when the CBI, one of the biggest representatives of businesses in this country, are saying that the economy is at the worst of all worlds, at what point do you have to start thinking maybe your ideological plan wasn't the one that the country really needed?
Peter, would you say that there is a long-term plan for Labour here? They would say they're taking the tough decisions now in the first year of their parliamentary term, and then you can reap the benefits a few years later.
If you can see one, I'd very much like you to tell me what it is, because I can't see it. I mean, if there's a long-term plan, this seems to me just nothing more than, what was it, Keir Starmer called it, sticking plaster politics? I mean, he sat in front of the liaison committee when asked point blank, was there anything he would change? He said no. The man said no. That is absolutely astounding to me. Whether you look at the economy or look at other issues such as the winter fuel allowance, look at the inheritance tax for farmers, look at what they did to the WASPy women. It is issue after issue after issue. The government has said it's taking the tough decisions. No, it's not. It's taking ideological ones. That is the difference. It is targeted attacks on the middle class because it doesn't like the fact that you might want to keep more of your money. And that's what this government is all about. It might say it's taking tough decisions, but let's look at what it's really hitting. It's hitting your pockets and it's hitting your taxes. £40 billion tax rate. That's what we've just gone through. And yet, what have we got? Nothing. And of nothing apart from misery. That is what the government has given us this Christmas.
Peter, thank you very much. That's Peter Barnes, political commentator there. Thank you very much. We're joined now by Liberal Democrat spokesperson for Women and Equalities, Christine Jardine. Christine, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and a Merry Christmas to you and yours. Now, you want to talk about the record shoplifting offences. You're warning that the shop staff are facing a Christmas crime wave.
Yes, well, I mean, the figures really showed that we are facing a situation where we're something like 670 shoplifting incidents every day which go unresolved, that nobody is arrested or charged, and nothing happens. So what we want to see happening is the government doing more to ensure that community policing in this country gets the numbers and the resources that it needs to protect our shop staff and our retailers at the moment, who they're on the front line and they're getting no protection or very little protection or support whatsoever from the police services. 1 in 6 shoplifting offences in this country, or rather shoplifting incidents in this country, are proceed to charge. I mean, that's outrageous.
Christine, Dame Diana Johnson, the policing minister, says that the government is committed to putting neighbourhood policing back on the beat and creating new powers for police in order to break this cycle of shoplifting. What's your response to them?
Well, we need to see it, and we need to see evidence of it. What we're seeing at the moment is shoplifting continuing to increase. And if they're going to do that, good, but we need to see it, and we need to see it soon, because it's not sustainable. It's not acceptable that in a situation where, as we've heard today, the economy isn't growing and retail is a vital sector, that if you think about it, it hits their profits. Everybody from small corner shops to major retailers are having to deal with this problem of shoplifting, which isn't being tackled by the police. And if the Labour government say they're going to do something about it, good, but I want to see it.
Indeed. Just have to ask you, Christine, also about the latest GDP figures. What do you make of what's happening there?
Oh, it's incredibly disappointing. They're anemic. I mean, they're just not moving. And I think it's time that the government accepted, the Labour government accepted that perhaps they got it wrong, that the national insurance contributions, I know from businesses in my constituency, and I understand from across the country, are struggling with the extra burden that it's putting on, and that we do need a rethink of that in particular.
So, Christine, what is the Liberal Democrats' rethink on this? What would you be doing to stop it being such an anemic growth in this country?
Well, we made it clear in our manifesto we would have done things differently. We would have reformed capital gains tax, for example, and we would have introduced a tax on social media platforms so that we had the money to invest in the NHS, particularly in mental health services and in social care, which we've seen this government, they're talking about investing in the NHS, which they're doing and which we welcome, but it doesn't go far enough. It doesn't do anything about social care. And providing the sort of packages that people need to get out of hospital, to get people back into the workforce who want to go back to work and earn a living. And without doing that, you're not going to get the economy growing.
One of the other group of people that Labour have managed to upset, and there's a long list of them to be fair, is the WASPy women. The Lib Dems are to open a WASPy vote, evidently. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, what we want to see is Parliament voting on whether or not they agree with the government on this, because it's unprecedented that an independent parliamentary advisor should be appointed, an independent parliamentary ombudsman should be appointed to look at a case like this, and then the recommendations aren't followed. And I just think it's ridiculous that these women who've campaigned for so long, and we promised, the Liberal Democrats promised that we would abide by the Ombudsman's ruling, and rather assumed that, the Labour government, since so many of them had been out with placards and showing support for the WASPy women, that they would do the same. And in the grand scheme of things, the money that is being offered is not a huge amount. And, it's not restitution for all the money that they didn't get in, the 7 years or 5 years, whichever it was, that their pensions were changed. It's a small amount of compensation, which is between £4 and £10 billion. And, this government's able to find money for things when it wants to and use the alleged black hole when it feels like it. So we feel that this is an instance where they should be following the Ombudsman's recommendations and finding that money for these women. And we want a vote in Parliament to see what everyone thinks, because I was at a meeting about this the day after the announcement in Parliament, and there were a lot of Labour members there. A lot of the Labour MPs are as unhappy as we are about this.
It's incredible, isn't it? A lot of Labour MPs unhappy with their own party. That is a Liberal Democrat spokesperson for Women and Equality. Sorry, it's been a long morning working with him. Christine Jardine, thank you very much, Christine, and a very Merry Christmas to you and yours.
You love working with me, really.
I do love working with him. It's just I've got smoked salmon in my teeth. What can I say?
No.
Sorry, it's too much information at this time of morning, but it is good for hangovers.
Anyway, at GB News, we love to hear what you think. Every day we'll be running our poll of the day, and today we are asking, should shoplifters face jail as the number of unsolved offences rises by 38%? So far, 96% of you think so, and just 4% don't think so. The final results will be announced later today in Nana Akuya's show.
And for all our latest polls, news and how to vote, please just go to gbnews.com/poll.
Now, tributes are flooding in for the 9-year-old boy, Andre Gleisner, who has been named as the youngest victim in the German Christmas market attack.
Well, that's as the protest group Alternative for Germany prepares to march near the scene of the attack that killed 5 and left hundreds injured.
Well, we're joined now by GB News' home and security editor, Mark White. Mark, this is such a dreadful tragedy, but I think there's a lot of Germans very angry, and perhaps people around the world, that there appears to be a number of missed opportunities here.
Yes, and that anger is deepening with every passing day as more details come out about those missed opportunities. The latest lines that we're getting from the Interior Minister for that part of northern Germany. Of course, Germany has a federalised political system there, so the local Interior Minister spoke about an incident in 2013 in which this individual, who was living as a refugee in Germany at that time, had been in a dispute with the local authority about the money he was receiving to live off during his time as a refugee, and he threatened them with some kind of act that would gain international attention, and referred apparently to the Boston Marathon bombing. And a year later, he was then seen by experts on a de-radicalisation programme to determine the potential risk that he posed. They had determined that there was no real risk that he posed. I think he was fined for the initial incident, but that is one of a number of different incidents and warnings passed to German authorities. The Saudi government, where this man's originally from, sent a number of diplomatic cables over the years talking about the extreme views of this individual, and they were calling for his extradition back to Saudi Arabia on people trafficking charges. That was never granted, and of course in 2016, despite those warnings, despite that de-radicalisation intervention, he was granted refugee status and became a fully fledged citizen of Germany in 2016. And the other, just briefly, the other point that the Germans will be looking at is security around that market, how they, or why this vehicle managed to slip through what was supposed to be a well sort of guarded market with these vehicle mitigation bollards, but he managed to find a gap in that. So a lot of questions, uncomfortable questions for the German authorities to answer here.
Yes, and I'm sure there'll be more to come out as well. Mark White, GB News' Home Security Editor, thank you so much.
Now, coming up, find out what's in Britain's newsroom with the lovely Bev Turner. That's next. This is GB News Breakfast with Cameron and Dawn.
I'm Nana Acquia. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Dubes & Co. Weekdays from 6 p.m.
This is a topic very close to my heart. I have become fully convinced that social media, smartphones are one of the primary causes of mental health problems in children and many other serious problems beside. Lots of governments are starting to talk about this, but the Australians are well ahead in their use of legislation. What do you think about this issue?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, I've got 3 young children and I'm really concerned about... I mean, they're too young to be on social media, but I'm really concerned about what lies ahead for them. I'm not sure I support what Australia's doing, not because I don't think it's a good idea to ensure that age verification is right. I'm just not sure that the age 16 is appropriate. But that's progress. If we effectively, as I do, accept the point that we need some sort of control, then we can move to a proper debate about whether that's 16, 14, 13, whatever it may be. And, of course, there are age restrictions on things like Facebook. I think, from memory, it is 13.
Yes, but it's a tick box.
But it's a tick box, so all you can do is you can just knock. If you're 11 years old, you can just predate your date of birth by 2 years, and you can get on. I think what Australia's proposing is interesting because it will stop young people, maybe without their parents' knowledge, short-circuiting the system because they're going to be asking for proper age verification and ID. That's definitely something we should do in the UK because it's enforced in the existing law. Query, is 16 the right age, Miriam?
I completely agree with it. It's something I actually said should have been done before. And I think what is good about it is that for a long time, a lot of governments have been saying that the actual social media companies should take more responsibility, but they're not going to because it hurts their bottom line. The most voracious users are younger users. So they will pledge that, oh, I'll put the tick box in, but the kid is the one who's going to actually tick the box. So doing something like this is saying that, OK, we will put in legislation that damages your bottom line. And I think it will force the hand because they've said it's only 12 months and they will reevaluate it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Now, we're about to make your Christmas potentially very special indeed, because there's still plenty of time to grab a chance to win a festive treat for you, an incredible £50,000 in cash. It's the biggest ever Great British giveaway, and all of that tax-free cash could be yours in the new year. Here's all you need to do it.
There's just 2 sleeps till Christmas and all through the land. GB News has the chance to win a nifty 50 grand. That's cash for the new year. You could go on a spree. And the best thing about it, it's totally tax-free. From Santa with love, you could be our winner. Just enter right now or right after Christmas dinner. It's a cracker of a prize, guaranteed to enthrall. From all of us at GB News, Merry Christmas to you all.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck with that. Now, during Advent, as we count down to Christmas Day, we are hearing from church ministers across the country. Each day, they have a special message for you to celebrate the festive season.
The GB News Advent Calendar, Day 23.
Hi, it's Josh from The Send. Emmanuel, God with us. In Malaysia, I was once travelling on a boat that got caught in a storm. It was cold and wet and I was afraid, when suddenly someone found me in the corner. She gave me a blanket and said, "I'm here, you're safe now." This reminded me of God's heart. Emmanuel, God with us. Christmas celebrates a God who didn't stay distant, but who steps into our broken, stormy world to be with us. Jesus is saying, "I see you, I'm here." Whether life feels joyful or heavy, his presence is constant, offering peace, comfort, and a way through the storm. As you put lights on your tree or hear a Christmas carol this year, remember, God is closer than you think. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas indeed. And you can see all of our special Advent messages as Christmas approaches by visiting gbnews.com/Advent. And here's the Vocal Zone Voice Studio Choir from South Derbyshire with Silent Night. But before we go to that, I just want to say, Cameron Walker, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure working with you this morning. The lovely Bev is up next with her show. And from us two here, have a very Merry Christmas. And here's the choir for you.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive the King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. Things are turning much milder now in the run-up to Christmas. Often quite a bit of cloud around, some outbreaks of rain. The rain mainly reserved, though, for the northwest of the UK. Looking at things in more detail for today now, though, and plenty of sunshine across the south and east of the UK. That sunshine turning a bit hazy this afternoon as cloud starts to increase from the west. And that cloud thick enough across many northern and western spots for